is up, diehards? Wes Monell in the building for AWOL Sports. Paul Durfee and Dill Monell in the house. We're hanging out tonight. NFL free agency is upon us. NFL offseason. There's more than free agency. There's trades and all that. A lot has happened, including big names and some more possibly on the move. You never know. There's still draft weekend coming up right around the corner. If your team made a move, we tried to list them in one place for you. And we're trying to talk about them, all teams, all positions. You can also see a list on the blog. Check it out. If you could do me a solid real quick, you came here for a reason. Like the video to show some love. If you're listening or watching and you like what we're dishing out, leave a comment. Let us know. Don't hesitate. And join in on the conversation as well. You're a diehard. You got things on your mind, your favorite team or around the league. We're all diehards. All right. Yo, Paul, Dill, NFL offseason. We're about to touch on the quarterbacks in a moment. But general statement, don't cover anything in particular. Is there anything you've noticed up to this point in the offseason or that you're excited about already? And the draft isn't even here yet.
I think the quarterback carousel continues. That's definitely interesting to watch. Some more dominoes will probably fall throughout some of the offseason. And as you just alluded to, the draft there. And just seeing the amount of people taking 1 or 2 year deals just to kind of latch on, given the circumstances with the cap situation. So definitely interesting to see how some of these teams are building at this point.
Yeah, I think obviously besides the quarterback, which has been interesting, you got trades and different signings. It's nice to see some more trades in the NFL. Sometimes I feel like we don't get as many trades as maybe teams should or would do. But besides that, like, how about the Patriots come out swinging day one free agency, just emptying out their wallets, and I think that has a lot to do with Bill. He doesn't probably have a lot of time left. He's like, you know what? I don't want to slow rebuild. I just want to. We got some money to spend. Let's spend it. And to be honest, they haven't been great in the draft lately. And I think the front office knows that. So, hey, that was kind of an interesting thing to see, just to see them go balls to the wall and 2 tight ends, top money right off the bat. Let's go.
Hey, this is a family show, Paul. 2 tight ends. I'm just kidding. It's for the diehards. All right, fellas. Let's see. All right, the 2021 NFL offseason moves. Like we said, we're going to cover all these positions here. We're going to throw in some highlights, and then what we'll speak on is what we think of certain moves and how we think the teams are looking heading into the draft with some info and some stats too. Hope you enjoy this, man. That's what it's all about. Again, add a comment anytime during the show. YouTube, where you're watching this. You can even holler at us on Twitter, Facebook, AWOL Sports is pretty much anywhere. If you're listening to the podcast version, you might want to check out the YouTube version at some point. Made some visuals for you to keep you entertained. And yeah, we'll speak on franchise tags as well, as you see at the bottom. Allen Robinson, Chris Godwin, among a few. And yeah, so guys, before we dive into the quarterback position, you see the key players right here, right now. A little sneak peek. The biggest surprise right here that we're looking at, I think, is Aaron Jones sticking around in Green Bay. If you're looking at these faces and I asked you what the biggest surprise was, who would you say?
I mean, I know the quarterbacks have been a constant theme of conversation, but I'm going to throw out Jonnu Smith. I like the player. He's young. He's got some upside, but seeing him score a deal that puts him in the top 5 of tight ends on day one of free agency is definitely surprising to me. He's like I said, he's young. He's got some upside, but He didn't even crack 500 yards last year. I know he had 8 touchdowns, but sometimes the touchdowns are fluky. Sometimes you have 10, sometimes you have 5. It just depends on opportunity. Sometimes it's luck, depending on like if you get tackled at the one, all that nonsense. But anyways, I just thought Patriots really overpaid for him, and I know they really want to get back to those 2 tight end sets, but I did not think he was going to get that kind of money. I think he got 40 or 50 million, so that was a shock.
Yeah, definitely understandable. For me, it was definitely Kenny Galladay. I think it was mainly obviously the location he went to and the amount of money that he got as far as free agency was able to go on. So I was actually surprised by the amount of money he got at that point and the length of the deal. I think the talent's there, no doubt. Obviously, there was some injury situation going on, maybe some contract situation going along with that as well. But happy he got paid. I think he's, definitely deserving of getting the money. I was just surprised about the length and the amount of money, considering how late into the free agency game he was able to sign there in New York.
For sure, man. For sure. All right. Well, let's talk about big money. Let's go over to the quarterback position. Big money. Dak Prescott in Big D. He's sticking around long term. Again, if you're watching the video version, there's a list of the quarterback movement this offseason so far. And like you guys have already stated, with the draft around the corner, there's some more moves to be expected. And let's not stray too far from America's team. Dak Prescott. Are you guys surprised that the long-term deal got done this offseason after an injury?
I'm not surprised. I knew, just because every year the quarterback deals go up. So even though this puts him right behind Mahomes, as I think he's the second highest paid quarterback now, even though, he's maybe on the 8 to 10 range, depending on who you ask, as far as best quarterbacks in the league. But he's in his prime. He's still young. It was a bad injury, but it's something that people recover from. It's if it was like a torn Achilles or something like that, I would worry more. If it was had to do with his shoulder or throwing arm. But we'll see. Hopefully, he'll still have his mobility and everything. But I mean, yeah, it's a crazy deal. I think 4 years, $40 million a year. I think Dallas. The only thing maybe Dallas did well in is just getting the 4 years. So you didn't have to lock him into like some crazy like 10-year deal like what Mahomes got. Now, obviously Mahomes deserves it, but the fact that maybe they were able to avoid that is could help them in the future. But you know it still remains to be seen what he can do without weapons. But right now he's got a stable of weapons at receiver, and he's got still, we'll see what Zeke comes out with next year, because last year he looked pretty lethargic. So and their O line should be good again. So he's definitely got no excuses, even coming off the injury. He's had plenty of time to recover now.
Yo, Dill, for the Cowboys fans out there, Dak Prescott had a career year in 2019. Thing is, the squad went 8-8. I mean, if you're a Cowboys fan, how excited, how weary, how should you feel about the Prescott extension?
Yeah, definitely. Again, that's some big money being shelled out after a major injury. Like Paul said, I'm not too concerned about him coming back as far as being healthy. I think Cowboys fans should definitely be excited. You have a franchise quarterback. That's definitely a rare commodity to get kind of locked down, especially in this day and age where we see somebody like Sam Darnold getting traded off before that fifth year option even comes up. So it's again something you just have to have pinned down. I know the love is to get a rookie quarterback and try to win on that contract there. So it just kind of depends on your team setup. So we'll see how this deal actually impacts the salary cap situation as we move forward. But it seems like the cap's going to be going up after this year. So I think it's going to be beneficial for both the fan base and the front office and the team itself at this point for how they structured it. And from my understanding, it sounded like Dak and his representatives wanted to keep the deal relatively short as well. So it seems like it kind of worked out for both sides. So if I'm a Cowboys fan, you should be pumped up. You got your franchise quarterback, and the salary cap should be looking up. So you should hopefully be able to retain some of those pieces. And, they've been pretty solid as far as drafting people, maybe signing them and keeping them around on the defensive side of the ball to help, both sides continue on. And we'll see how their offensive line continues to develop as well. But you got to be pumped bringing back a franchise quarterback.
Yeah, that O-line is a key. I know it was an injury-riddled season last year for the Cowboys. Hey, to be seen. I think it was inevitable, to be honest, Dak in Dallas long term. It just seemed like it was always going to be just a matter of time. The biggest name on the move, Matthew Stafford to LA. Paul, we all like Matthew Stafford in reality, in fantasy as well. Thing is, we're going to find out if it was Matthew Stafford being very good and not elite, or if it was just being in Detroit. Which one do you think is more, it is going to be the way it plays out in year one, at least with Sean McVay?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a risk on both sides. I mean, the Rams are going in, they think, hey, this is a clear upgrade. Stafford's been rock solid his whole career. And he's got a big arm, he can stretch the field. He might be able to do more with the coaching because, to be honest, he's never had a damn coach in his life, and he's had coaching changes his whole career. Every year it seems like he's had a new offensive coordinator, new head coach, blah blah blah. Just the list goes on. But on the other side of it, he's never won a playoff game. You don't know how he's going to be in big situations like that. He was in a Detroit team that, to be honest, no one cares. Not many people care about the Lions, and they don't get a lot of national attention. So it's easy to fly under the radar in that situation. So it's going to be a big. I think it's going to be a big challenge for him. But I think he seems like a cool, level-headed dude. So I think a combination of that and with Bay, I expect him to do well. But, like I said, there is some risk.
Dill, what do you think the fantasy impact is? Matthew Stafford with Sean McVay, is that top 3 potential?
Oh man, I'm not gonna say top 3. I would definitely say maybe top 5 to 7 potential at this point. I definitely got to wait and see at this point. But as far as the pass catchers, you got to be happy. He's not going to be shy and slinging that thing. And maybe instead of getting some yak, they'll be able to, kind of stretch the field a little bit more as well. So if I'm a pass catcher, I'm happy. I'm not going to put him in the top 3 just quite yet, unfortunately. I got to see a little bit.
Ooh, that's tough. I mean, hold on. Don't we all believe Matthew Stafford is an upgrade over Jared Goff?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I agree with that.
He's got probably the best tandem he's ever had. I mean, I know he's had Calvin Johnson before, I guess, with Marvin Jones, the tail end. But, I mean, the receivers look nice right now. Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, and although he's been injured the past 2 seasons, Deshaun Jackson, hey, if the Rams can limit his snaps and throw a deep ball per half, you'd probably say it might be a layup for him. Like,
if he could play long enough.
It's true. That's true. That's been the issue. I'm just saying, if Stafford's an upgrade and if he is better than just being in Detroit, what what I mean? Like, I think it just seems like it's a lock for Stafford to be top 3 in fantasy. Paul, do you think they're going to lean on the run game too much for that to be the case with Matt Stafford?
I mean, no, we'll see. Their running back situation, Cam Akers came on at the end of last year, so if he's the real deal, I expect anytime you get a good running game, that'll set up your pass game. So I expect him to have a pretty good balance. So, yeah, we'll see. It should be interesting.
Cool. Okay, I get it. All right. Hey, any of these moves surprise you guys? I mean, as for me, I'm not surprised Carson Wentz got moved. As an Eagles fan, I'm disappointed, to be honest. I'm disappointed. I think Carson Wentz is a top 7 to 12 quarterback, probably depending on the year and the situation, I guess. But I still think he's a top tier quarterback. Regardless of how last year went, I think the signs were there in 2019. There was a mirage in Philadelphia where they kind of did what they do under Doug Peterson. They step up in December. That's what they did when Carson wasn't really surrounded by a lot. And then last year, we see the remnants of that, not the December, but the before 2019 version of the Eagles. We saw all of 2020. So I think it was more of a franchise issue, and he was part of the domino effect that he just couldn't avoid. Uh, am I being too homer? Am I being too biased when I say Wentz is still a top tier quarterback?
No, I mean, I don't think so. He's definitely shown, like you said in 2019, he showed, hey, I can do a lot with, not, with all the injuries, he was still able to play at a high level, and then obviously the MVP season. So it shows that when he's surrounded with the right people and the right coaches, he can do well. It's just the big question is, all the drama that happened last year. Everyone's pointing fingers like, no, it was Doug's fault. No, it was Carson's fault. He wasn't coachable. It was Howie's fault. He's too involved. Blah blah blah. Everyone's, who knows. But obviously it got to the point where Carson was checked out. The coach was checked out. It was just a situation that had to be resolved in a trade because it's one of those true situations where you just have to get a different change of scenery. So I'm happy for him. He definitely went to the absolute best situation possible for him. So it's a lot of pressure on him too because he's coming off a bad year and now he's going to literally perfect fit the coach that he wanted all along. So he's got to he's got to show up and silence all the doubters who think like, hey, Wentz regressed and he's never getting back to the MVP form. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting next year, but I think it was best for both parties. The Eagles are going to rebuild. They'll have his cap hit this year, but then after that, they'll clear the cap hit, and then all they'll be doing is paying Hurts basically a rookie salary, so they can build around him and or evaluate him, and then if they don't like him, they have a lot of ammo now next year to draft a quarterback or trade.
So, Dill, can you give us your take on Carson Wentz in terms of the fantasy perspective? And then after that, give us I guess, one of the quarterback moves that really caught your attention.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. So, reuniting with, the coaching staff over there in Indianapolis, and you would assume the mechanical issues and, some of the coaching staff had the philosophy situations there that we kind of heard developing during the last year there, or at least at the very minimum the last year. You would assume he's going to be more comfortable out there. Some of the weapons, he's got the running game to help out as well. I think that's going to be a lot easier for him to make some plays, especially in the play action game when you don't have a man just rushing or two man rushing in your face, within 2 or 3 seconds of the snap, which is, I guess, pretty normal statistically speaking in the NFL. But him having that play action and that running game is only going to benefit him, especially with some of the weapons that he already has there. Some of their tight end options, they have a plethora of options that they could put out there at that position. We know he loves that. And who knows, maybe he gets reunited with Zach Ertz at add even more firepower there, as we were talking about before the show. So I think Carson Wentz has definitely a pretty good opportunity to be putting up some good numbers in an offense to kind of make up for some of the last year's projections, right? I know last year didn't go the way anybody planned, I think, in Philadelphia in general. So I'm not going to put too much of an emphasis on him being at fault for that. As far as fantasy production, it was a lot of factors, as you guys both touched on there. But I think he has potential to, kind of max out in that top 5-7 range, given the offensive scheme, him being familiar with it, and some of the upgraded, maybe more reliable weapons that he's had, at least at this point of his career.
I hear it. I hear it. What about any of the other moves that may have caught your attention?
Yeah, I was actually kind of surprised Cam Newton staying in town in New England. Um, I don't know if you guys believe he's still actually going to be the starter if they happen to draft anybody. I know that's probably maybe for a different show there, but Obviously, the passing statistics were pretty rough for him last season. I think the offense in general was pretty rough, but I mean, you're only coming away with like 2,600 passing yards and 8 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. Obviously, on paper, there's no doubt about it. That's not good statistics. That's not where you want to be. He did put up 12 rushing touchdowns, so that does kind of make up for that. So it sounds a lot better when you're saying, "Hey, I put up 20 touchdowns, 10 turnovers, haven't checked his fumbles." But at the end of the day, with all the weapons that they've added, the 2 tight end sets, Nelson Aguilar, I think born from San Fran as well, you would expect that their offense is going to look a lot better than last year. Uh, Again, what does that mean? I don't know if they actually go and be a viable option in a deep playoff run, but I definitely think they are going to be viable fighting for that wild card. Just enough trust in Bill Belichick to handle that side of the ball. But I think ultimately Cam Newton's getting a full offseason here with Josh McDaniels being able to dial up an offense with Jonnu, Henry, and some of those other additions there. I think they could look pretty scary, especially with the plethora of running backs that they have. I know fantasy owners might not like that, but at the end of the day, they do have a committee and they all can, specialize in the roles. And I think McDaniels can have a little bit of fun there, especially with the running element with Cam Newton. So I'm interested to see if he's going to have 12 rushing touchdowns again next season. I doubt that, considering all the weapons that they were able to add. So I'm definitely interested to see kind of what you guys are feeling about Cam Newton and if he's actually going to be the starter if they, end up drafting anybody.
I think they're committed to Cam Newton for this year. And I think grabbing this supporting cast, I'm not saying they went out and got like an Odell Beckham, but they got guys that you can consider veterans and role players. Nelson Aguilar, he has the ability to hit a home run. As you know, he was a Raider last year. Paul, as you know, he was an Eagle before that. He has those type of plays in him. Lacks the consistency, which is why he isn't a high-end receiver, but he fits a role. I could see it working in complementary fashion. So it's probably one of the best places for a player like Aguilar and Kendrick Bourne, who's utilized in the red zone. He was a sleeper of mine 2 years ago, and then last year in fantasy, people, not necessarily our league, but in other leagues, people started to catch on to Bourne being played higher in the red zone and being targeted more. It may not have panned out. The Niners went through some issues, but I say that to say that they're building this squad, 2 tight ends. It's going to be Cam week 1. We know that. I think we know that. And if they do draft a rookie, he's really going to have to beat Cam Newton out. And I don't think the Patriots are in a rush to get a guy out there that has no experience to get out, day one, especially when we're not fully sure what to expect with off-season training camp. And, you get 2 tight ends for a reason, to help a quarterback like Cam Newton and to help a young quarterback you'll develop eventually. What do you think, Paul?
No, I agree with all your guys' points. The only other thing I'll add is that I think the Patriots are sitting at 15 in the draft right now, and I think they would absolutely trade up for a quarterback if they had an opportunity. If one of them fell, a little bit, it seems like right now, based on Schefter's reporting and all that, that Lawrence and Wilson and Mac Jones are going 1, 2, 3. So maybe they look at Trey Lance or Justin Fields, see if they drop to like maybe the 7, 8 range, and they might be able to trade up. And hey, that's perfect. Especially for Trey Lance, who's more of a project than Fields. Is hey, they go in, they sit behind Cam for a year, they learn from him. They're both actually kind of have some similarities to Cam. So I think that'd be a great fit. And Cam's, signed only for 1 year again. So it's I think it's a perfect scenario if they're able to, land one of those quarterbacks and then also have him sit for a year behind Cam. So yeah, that works. And then just to throw out someone else on the list, kind of one of the lower, someone who everyone kind of writes off and only signed for 2.5 million, but I just love the Mitch Trubisky fit with Buffalo. I think this is a great career move for him. Like if if he had to pick one team that maybe could help him revitalize his career, going to Buffalo with Daboll, who has Trubisky has a similar skill set to Josh Allen. Obviously, he's not Josh Allen, but they have very similar throwing motions. They both are mobile. They're very similar in a lot of ways. So I think just under his coaching, they'll be able to get the most out of Trubisky, and I think he's a perfect backup, especially only at 2.5 million when all these other guys are signing for these crazy amounts. So super under the radar, but I really, really love that fit on there.
There might not be another statement any of us make the rest of this show that I couldn't agree 100% more with. It's like we talked about it before, even though we hadn't. 100% agree. I love it from Mitch Trubisky. Dayball, behind a similar mold of a quarterback. I'm not saying, they're that same productivity. If that were the case, Mitch would still be in Chicago. He's not, but love the move. Couldn't agree more. Your thoughts still?
Yeah, I'm on the same page with you guys. I'm in the same banana boat, I guess. But yeah, Trubisky, man. I think it's a perfect landing spot. You guys say you get to sit and learn. If your name is called, you better believe he's going to be able to pounce on that opportunity. I would assume, right? Just being a competitor, it didn't really go well based on his experience in Chicago. So he's going to be dialed in and ready to do pretty much whatever that they ask him to at that point. So I'm excited for the fit as well.
And then real quick, you guys can shuffle through it. Give me your takes on Sam Darnold and Jared Goff.
All right, Sam Darnold. My first thought, and I think I still kind of believe this after processing it, is I think the Jets got a really good haul. I wouldn't say it was like a major, like where they really got the better end of it, but getting a second rounder and then I think a fourth and a sixth. I think it was a sixth this year and a second and a fourth next year. That's a pretty good package for a guy who has never finished. I think he's been in the bottom 5 of QBR every single year since he's been in the league. I know that he hasn't had the best situation, but we haven't really even seen like glimpses of him being great or even good. Maybe a couple games here and there, but I mean, it's really few and far between. So, I mean, obviously you're banking a lot, Carolina, because, he's only signed for one more year technically, and then he has the 5th-year option, but that's going to pay him like $18 million. So I guess if he does well, you pay him that, and it becomes a 2-year trial run. So, it's a lot to give up because, a guy like Josh Rosen was drafted high too. He never played well, never really got a chance, but, he was traded for like, something super low. So the fact that they were able to get a second round pick was pretty shocking to me, honestly.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. I do like Sam. I've liked him ever since he was going into USC. But like what Paul said, just the productivity is not there. Whether it was missing some games for kind of some wacky injuries that he sustained, and just the situation in general there. Maybe the offense and just the whole entire team setup and the dynamic there wasn't beneficial for where anybody was actually set up for success there, no matter which quarterback was going to be, lining up there for them. So I'm interested to see. I think they do probably end up picking that 5th-year option. I think ultimately with the cap going up, I think he's going to be able to solidify this spot. It sounds like they're pretty willing to kind of invest in him and kind of, go with this project for 2 years. I'm interested to see if they do try to bring in, some other camp body, if you will, maybe somebody through the draft. Maybe they do make a big move and, put some sights on a quarterback that's falling in their eyes that they actually are in love with as well. So who knows? But at this point, I think Darnold's their guy, and he gets a 2-year trial one, as you mentioned. And I'm still hopeful for him at this point. I don't see it working out, but I'm hoping for him and the Panthers it could work out for them because they do have a plethora of weapons that they should be able to utilize. And I know they want to be able to accelerate this rebuild a little bit quicker in their mind. And they think this is the move to make based on that draft capital that you alluded to there.
I think Sam Darnold should be expected to finish in the top half of quarterbacks in fantasy football this year. That offense and that talent, asking someone to finish 16th or 15th isn't a tall task. So, I mean, I expect Sam Darnold, a little bit of his talent, a little bit of the coaching, a little bit of the sporting cast. I expect him to be top 16 at the very least. I won't go overboard and say top dozen, top 10, nothing like that. If he does, he does. Great. Good for you, Carolina. Jared Goff, it makes sense. The GM came from the scouting department from the Rams, so it makes sense. He has a familiar face that believes in him. And if it's not 5-6 years believes in him, at least it's for the duration of his contract believes in him. He's in Detroit. I want to say Kenny Galladay is a loss, even though he hasn't had a chance to play with him, but just for Detroit. Thing is, Galladay, you got to be there to be reliable, right? And he's been inconsistent even when he's on the field. So although I hesitate to say Galladay is a huge loss, they just haven't filled that yet. You're not going to woo me with Tyrell Williams, Brashad Perriman. I get it. You got to do what you got to do, and there's a draft coming. They're up there in the draft. Jared Goff, tough. He's been to a Super Bowl. I don't think it's because of him. I don't think any of us think it was because of Jared Goff. The Rams made it to the Super Bowl, but yes, he was a part of it. He made some key throws along the way. That's for sure. Just is what it is. You make plays as part of a team that goes on a run like that. I just see he's going to be handing the ball off a lot. There's a lot of run-oriented coaches there. Dan Campbell, Anthony Lynn, Deuce Staley. Those offensive minds are going to run the ball. They have DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams. They snagged him over from Green Bay. They're going to run the ball in Detroit, and whether it's a matter of them preferring to or needing to, it's both. It's both, and it's exactly what Jared Goff needs to start in a new place, because I don't see the weapons in the passing game. What do you guys think, Goff in Detroit?
Yeah, I was just going to say, the lack of the pass catchers. I mean, besides TJ Hawkinson, who are you really afraid of at this point? I mean, Tyrell Williams, he's, decently productive when he's actually on the field. But again, that's just somebody you got to get him on the field. You can't really count on them at this point over the past couple of seasons. And I like Swift as well. You're right. They're probably going to go run heavy at this point. I'm not intimidated by the pass catchers. I'm going to make Jared Goff try to beat me on a weekly basis. And the past year and a half, that's kind of been proven to be the Achilles heel at this point. So let him try to beat you and let everybody else, do whatever they got to do.
Yeah, I mean, Detroit's in complete rebuild mode. So, I mean, like you guys said, he is literally no one to throw to. They're going to lean on the run game. I honestly think the only reason they took Goff's contract on was so they get more draft capital from the Stafford trade. So I don't even think they actually believe in him as a long-term quarterback. Maybe that's just like hey, let's see how he does, even though he has no one to throw to. But I wouldn't rule them out drafting a quarterback at 7. They might really like someone in the draft, and they say, hey, you know what? He's got a quarterback will get a chance to sit behind Goff for a year, and then we'll figure out Goff's contract thing later. But I think just because of the lack of talent, they needed the draft picks more, and they're able to eat Goff's salary right now. So I mean, it's going to be tough for him. I don't know. I can't see it going very well for him.
It was that NBA trade, like you guys touched on earlier.
I hear you guys, for sure. And then, look, we can't cut out of this position without, of course, talking about two memorable quarterbacks hanging up the cleats, both drafted by the San Diego Chargers at the time. Drew Brees will wear a gold jacket and enter the Hall of Fame in like 5 years. First ballot for him. This guy was the player of the week 25 times with 13 Pro Bowls, a Lombardi, 2-time Offensive Player of the Year, 2004 Comeback Player of the Year, a dozen postseason appearances in 19 seasons. He completed 70% of his passes 7 times, tossed over 4,000 yards in 11 seasons, and he racked up 5K in 5 seasons. Drew freaking Brees, you had a great career, man. What do you guys got to add to the remarkable career of the now retired Drew Brees?
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I mean, he's obviously had a crazy good career. You know, the fact that he lasted this long, and it's funny because you know after he had that really bad shoulder injury, and he kind of went to New Orleans, no one really thought, how good is this guy, or how much does he actually have left in the tank? And then sure enough, he goes to lead New Orleans and have great years there, and then you know gave gave the fans something to cheer about. When they were going through like Hurricane Katrina, everything. He was a really big member of the community, and it's just amazing. One of the probably the best free agent signings ever when New Orleans got him. So um, kudos to him for lasting so long and just being an amazing quarterback. So I'm interested to see, if he goes into coaching or what's next for him, because he's obviously got a great brain for football, and so I'm sure teams will be knocking on his doorstep soon.
Yeah, kind of the Peyton Manning effect, right? Just to kind of pick his brain and just to see what kind of input they can have on their franchise. So that's pretty cool. Like you guys said, just insane amount of stats that we can talk about, but just his impact for that community, both in San Diego and in New Orleans, man. So when people didn't really have a lot to cheer about in New Orleans, he was able to kind of make a lot of people happy just for playing a game, right, and being successful at it and representing their city. So the impact that they have, I'm sure that city will never forget that. And he's just an all around good human, man. Just cool seeing him on the field balling out, both in the with the Chargers bolt on the helmet or in New Orleans. So it's been awesome seeing him get to work with somebody like Sean Payton as well. I'm sure he definitely will tell everybody how much he's benefited from that as well. But yeah, great man, great football player, and just looking forward to see what he does next. I'm assuming he's going to be on TV screens everywhere, and yeah, just looking forward to see what his kind of thoughts are about how the game develops as we move forward here.
Absolutely. And I know I've been you know, one of those guys that's been saying the last 3 years, Breeze kind of tails off. It's just been obvious and evident. Does not mean that you, I, or anyone else doesn't appreciate Drew Brees. Fantastic career. Some other guys retired: Matt Schaub, Alex Tanney. But we'll talk about Phillip Rivers. He may get on the Hall of Fame ballot. I'm just not so sure he gets in. According to Pro Football Reference, the average QB score for making the Hall is 104. Right now, hanging up the cleats, Rivers is sitting at 97, just shy of that. Certainly a career to remember. 10-time Player of the Week, 8 Pro Bowls, 11th most completions in NFL history. And after sitting his first 2 years behind Drew Brees, he played every single game for 15 consecutive seasons, including a dozen playoff games. He finished 5-7, a shade below 500, but he had him right there. And he threw for over 4K in 12 seasons. The career of Phillip Rivers. Your thoughts?
No doubt, dude was an Iron Man. That is one thing I don't think anybody can dispute. Obviously the one story about playing on the ACL, in the playoffs, that's definitely legendary as well. I think he's, in my opinion, no doubt a Hall of Famer. I agree, though, he might not be first ballot. I definitely understand that, but I do think he's going to be wearing that gold jacket. I think it's more of a when, not if, to me at this point. I think his stats back it up, and his mystique and kind of his narrative with the media. I think a lot of people understand. Yes, they probably wanted more production and get that Super Bowl title, which everyone's going after. But hey, man, there's only one team that wins every single season. It's so hard to make it to that point. So I think we all need to kind of sit back and understand that. A lot of the greats haven't been able to win either. So ultimately, let's just reflect on his entire career. We could look at the stats, look at the narratives, but I think dude is Hall of Fame worthy, no doubt.
I'm 100% agree on that. Actually, I I think just like his longevity, like you said, he's had a lot of good years, productive years on good teams, that made the playoffs. He's been to a lot of playoff games. Obviously, he hasn't won the Super Bowl yet, so that's obviously going to be the big knock on him. But I mean, if Dan Marino is a no doubt Hall of Famer, then I think Philip Rivers is too. Because if you look at their stats, they're very comparable. I think Rivers is even better than him in a lot of stats. And Dan Marino never won a Super Bowl either. I think you know a lot of a lot of times Rivers gets a bad rap because maybe he has a habit of some inopportune interceptions, or just the Chargers always had kind of that choke label on them. So I think it kind of has maybe made him look as good, overall. But I think if you just look at the body of work, it's there for me.
I respect what both of y'all say. I don't agree. Um, I, I don't. I don't think anyone has an answer on how to grade longevity. I'm not trying to knock the hustle. Don't get me wrong. I love the grind. Philip Rivers, probably one of the top 10 players when you think of Iron Man, especially at quarterback, right? Fiery competitor. What don't you want? I don't know, man. It wasn't clutch. I don't think he was ever elite, as in top 4 or 5 in any year of his career, including his career years. There's probably always been, he's always been that next, I don't know, Matthew Stafford type of quarterback, which is still very good. I don't want to put very good in the Hall of Fame. That's just me. But at the same time, I understand not how we grade longevity and all that. That's it's murky to me. That's so gray. I don't think we're ever gonna get a room, even if it's only 3 people here on the same page on how to even go about that. But yeah, I think he gets consideration. Uh, if I had to bet if he got in, I would bet he gets in. I just wouldn't vote him in if I had a vote. So he's probably happy that I don't. And I'll leave it at that. So, uh, man, I hope you don't think I'm being unfair. I'm trying to be as objective, and I'm like, well, longevity, but were you ever that great? But hey, it's a fair point to bring up guys of the past, and the bar. It you just never know if we don't watch all the players since the beginning of time to really judge. You know what I mean? And even then, what I've noticed is there's certain time frames where we glorify things that might have been better than, may not have it been as good as we really remember it to be. So I don't want to jade my opinion of Dan Marino because I thought he was freaking awesome. Obviously he was freaking awesome, but you know what I mean? I think he was a better quarterback than Philip Rivers. I don't think it's comparable. I know stats are stats, and I don't want to be that old guy that says, oh, today there's been more passing because Dan Marino threw more than anyone when he played. I get that. So I just wanted to throw in a little debate there, but yeah. So you guys think he gets in, and I think he gets voted in. I just wouldn't do it. So, all right, let's shift over to the backfield here. Check out these names. Give y'all a moment to catch up. I already touched on Aaron Jones as being one of the biggest surprises to me this offseason. Barring like a blockbuster trade, I'm talking about a signing. I didn't see Green Bay extending him coming. I just didn't. I thought, if anything, if he was sticking around, it'd be the franchise tag. That didn't turn out to be. Hence the surprise, at least from my perspective. Looking around here, guys, did any of these moves either surprise you or stand out as being the best move at the running back position so far?
Yeah, go ahead, Paul.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say I agree about Aaron Jones. I don't know, that was a tough one. It was surprising, but not surprising, kind of in the same way, because I know they obviously he's been a big part of their offense, but just throwing out the 4-year, $48 million number, it's a big number, and I think like you said, with running backs, the way the running backs are these days, it's just not. I don't think it's smart to pay running backs big money. I mean, you look at a guy like Jamal Williams, you could argue he was just as productive of Aaron Jones most of the time. Besides, the only real difference is maybe Aaron Jones had a couple of bigger plays because he's got that breakaway speed. But are you going to pay $12 million a year for that when you're already up against the cap because of Aaron Rodgers' contract and you're trying to get more weapons as it is? So and just add to the defense and trying to wiggle their way under the cap. So I was just surprised to see, you know, him get that kind of deal. And I think they could have went other ways with it. And they just drafted a guy second round last year who had some good games last year. I'm trying to remember his name off the top of my head.
AJ Dillon.
Yeah. But yeah, it's an interesting debate, about how teams should value running backs and how much they should pay them.
Yeah, I was going to touch on that too. I was especially surprised because of the capital that they just put, a second round pick, especially as a running back. That's, definitely eye opening. If you're the starting running back on that team, you wonder, how much they're going to get integrated. And then you have the season that Aaron Jones has, and then it gets taken care of. So definitely a little confusing there as well. I think a name that kind of stuck out to me was actually Mike Davis after the season he had and working with Arthur Smith. And, obviously he had Derrick Henry. I'm not saying Mike Davis is going to have any type of season that Derrick Henry has. That's no stretch in the imagination there. But I just want to pay a little bit of respect out to Mike Davis for starting 12 games and being able to put up 1,000 all-purpose yards, man. He was able to, do it all for them. Now, obviously 3.9 yards per carry is not good. Again, not eye opening, but not coming into the season knowing you're going to be the starter for that many games, especially being behind CMC. Right at the end of the day, I don't think he assumed he was going to be able to get that much playing time, regardless of whatever conversations were happening that offseason. But I'm interested to see because he was able to catch the ball a little bit for them last year and put up at least 600 odd rushing yards and about 375 receiving yards as well. So I'm interested to see kind of how Atlanta's offense kind of gets tweaked this season. I think they do try to lean a little bit more on the running game and play action pass, just like they were doing with Tannehill to kind of help out with Matt Ryan because he's got a plethora of pass catchers already. So let's figure out this run game. And I think Mike Davis was kind of a sneaky good addition there without having to break the bank or use draft capital at this point.
Yeah, and Chris Carson was another one along the same lines, maybe to a lesser degree because of the lack of any other running back. Carlos Hyde left town. We see here he went to Jacksonville, and Rashad Penny. We've seen how that's gone so far. It's tough. The league is tough. I get it. So I think it was a great move by the Seahawks. Seems like a no-brainer. You just never know. I saw like the Patriots were interested, kind of piqued my interest there. I was like, ooh, that'd be awesome for New England if they could pull that off. The next day, I see Seattle, brings them back. I'm like, that's a smart move right there. So I like the Chris Carson re-signing. Leonard Fournette sticking around too. So we're seeing 3 veterans right there. Those teams are inking their running backs to stay home or stay in place. And yeah, we saw playoff Lenny do his thing. I know I'm a big Leonard Fournette fan. Fantasy, damn it. I like him returning to Tampa. I think it's a good fit. When I'm looking at a fantasy impact, don't ask me about Leonard Fournette. I will refer to I'll send you to these guys. Sore subject, but your guys' thoughts on any of those backs or any other backs on this list here?
The only other, most of the deals, nothing really stuck out. The only other thing I'll mention, not to hate on Dill's Raiders, but I didn't really like giving Kenyon Drake like $5 million a year to be your backup. Especially in a time where I think it's pretty easy to find backup running backs either in the draft or just cheap via free agency. And Drake doesn't really, I don't know how many carries he's going to get next year, but it just when there's so many other needs, that around the team, it just doesn't seem worth it to me to pay a backup running back $5 million a year. So that was the only other deal that kind of stuck out to me that I didn't love. But yeah, that's it.
Sure. No, I definitely get that. To me, though, I feel like the investment for them was obviously worth it because, we invested the capital in Lynn Bowden Jr., shipped him out in the same offseason there. So they obviously have a role that they're trying to fulfill, I think, in my opinion. And I think we kind of saw it a little bit last year with Josh Jacobs. There was like a certain scheme that they're going with, right? So Jacobs was out there for 2 series, and then they would put Booker out there. So they want to have a little bit more attention to the running back position. Once Jacobs is out the game, we still want the threat of somebody on the field of being a dynamic playmaker. And Kenyon Drake is kind of the home run hitter that Jacobs isn't. No disrespect to him. He's not taking 50, 60 yarders to the house like a Kenyon Drake is. So I at least see the vision. Obviously, the money is definitely eye popping. So, but I think because they assumed how versatile he was, at least for his scheme fit, that fulfilled a lot of needs based on what we felt how we can make our power and make the offense even more powerful at that point. Because to me at this point, really the only additional holes that we definitely need to fill are in the secondary, and maybe obviously solidify the offensive line because of all the changes that were made already there. So, and at least at this point here in the draft, the way everybody's talking, there's a decent amount of secondary players and a decent amount of offensive lineman talent. So I can see why they were like, hey, let's spend the money here. We believe this is a versatile weapon. But I definitely, I get it. It's not ideal to pay a lot of money to a running back, especially when we're paying Jalen Richard $3 million as well. And then Josh Jacobs is making pretty good money on his rookie deal, being a first round pick. So a lot of money invested in the running back position now, when we shed a lot of money off the offensive line. So we'll see how that works out.
We will. Raiders prioritizing the backfield. I like Kenyon Drake signing. I like the pairing with Josh Jacobs. The money, I feel you on that. Sometimes when I like a signing, I try to kind of just put the financial portion to the side. Sometimes, not all the time.
Yeah, not my checkbook.
Yeah. So I'm just looking at it strictly just on the field, not in the financials. I like the pairing. I like it for the offense that's going through some carousel on the O line, help Derek Carr, young wide receivers. So I like the pairing. And another interesting pairing in Chicago, they already have David Montgomery. They bring on Damian Williams, a guy familiar with Matt Nagy from their days with Kansas City. He sat out last year. Players had the opportunity to sit out with COVID and all that, and Damian Williams was one of those players. If we can turn back the clock a little bit, in 2019, he had almost 500 yards rushing and another 200 receiving, 7 total touchdowns that year. And then he had 6 more scores in the playoffs on that Super Bowl run. And, he should continue to see between 20 and 35% of touches that he got on average in 2018 and 2019. I see a similar role there. David Montgomery, he had a strong finish to the year. As if you played fantasy football, you should have seen that coming, though. When you're going into fantasy drafts, you should look at the schedule, and it was buttercup for David Montgomery. So everyone pretty much knew that was coming regardless. So I see, Raiders and Bears prioritizing the backfields there. Jamal Williams to Detroit. We mentioned that briefly earlier. He's joining DeAndre Swift. One thing that really had me scratching my head was Houston, who has David Johnson. They're like, yeah, let's sign Mark Ingram. And then let's sign Phillip Lindsay too. What do you guys think is up with that?
Just like their linebackers, they just signed like 50 of them, right? I mean, I like the 2 names that they brought in, but I'm with you. I don't know what direction they're trying to go with at this point. Seems like a lot of mouths to feed, which again, that could be a good thing, right? But I don't know. I have no idea how those touches are going to be distributed at this point here.
Yeah, same. I don't know. The Texans are in a bad way right now,
Yeah.
for a lot of reasons. So yeah.
Yeah. Trying not to kill him right now. But yeah,
I guess.
I'm not seeing it.
I know. I hear it. I feel it too. Uh, if we're looking for an RB2 that has an opportunity to be a fantasy savior, so to speak, there's always those guys every year out of the blue that may not start day one, comes in and kind of saves your team if you're the guy that scoops them up off the waiver wire. Mike Boone in Denver, with he takes Philip Lindsay's spot that we just talked about, darting to Houston. And, Melvin Gordon, it's not like he's been the guy to show the best availability in his career. I know he's good. He's still the better back. Mike Boone, he might have a chance, though, to be one of those guys that no one sees coming, that you pick him up and, you're starting him every week just because that's what Denver's going to do. And they're going to give him the ball because he's that guy that's just there.
Got the hot hand. Yeah.
I mean, Paul, you don't see that? No, don't like it.
I mean, I think you're reaching a bit, but it might work out for him. It might not. He hasn't really got the opportunity to show much of anything yet. So it's probably going to mean more playing time for him, obviously, because Dalvin Cook is a beast, and then they have Madison, who's been good too. So, I mean, yeah, it's great for him to get away and get to a place where he'll actually get to showcase his skills a little more.
Yeah, maybe they value him a little bit more. I just found it odd. I don't know. I just like Lindsey better, like overall as a player.
Yeah.
So that's why I didn't understand why they let him go. But I like Mike Boone. He was able to step in. I'm sure some, like you mentioned, some fantasy owners from a year or two ago were happy with some of his performances to step in, steal some touchdowns. But I don't know. We'll see. They still need a quarterback out there, though.
That's true. They do. And then let's go over out wide, man, to the prima donnas at wide receiver. Check out these names on the list. Some big names here. AJ Green still playing football, going to Arizona, possibly replacing Larry Fitzgerald, who hasn't made up his mind yet whether he's going to play football again. We talked about Deshaun Jackson going to the Rams. We know what type of role he's in for. Definitely some boom there. I think it's low risk for the Rams. They already have two starters that are strong. They're going to run the ball with Cam Akers. They got Matthew Stafford. So that can only be a good move for the Rams to take that type of flyer. And, I don't know what to think about a player that I really like, but at this stage of his career and in this offense, I actually don't know what to think about Emmanuel Sanders in Buffalo. Maybe you guys can sway me one way or the other if it's, impactful in reality football and if it's even worth a sniff in fantasy.
I'd say fantasy-wise, I would stay away from that personally. I think in real life, he can have an impact, get some first downs, and, he can get some yak and make a couple plays here and there. I don't know. I just see with the emergence of Cole Beasley and obviously Stephon Diggs dominating the way he was. I kind of see them kind of catering that offense to them, but they're so pass happy. So he's probably still going to get his touches. I don't know how many, targets he's actually going to get at this point. I'm definitely interested to see. I don't know if they're just going to insert him right away into that John Brown, amount of targets. Whenever John Brown was healthy, I know that was kind of a question mark for him last season, but they're so pass happy. So I'm sure he's going to get some love out there anyway.
Paul, Emmanuel Sanders, Buffalo.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think the impact is going to be great, but I just think it's a good depth signing, for a contending team that wants to have Super Bowl aspirations. It's the perfect fit. You pick up a guy has a lot of experience, made a lot of big plays in his career, can help kind of mentor the other receivers. I think that's probably the main goal of what they brought him in for.
Because they still got Gabriel Davis, who was kind of catching a little bit of fire towards the end of the season as well.
They do. That is true. He made some deep plays. The big name here, well, actually, before Let's talk about John Brown then. Leaves Buffalo, goes to your Raiders.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a more consistent target than Nelson Aguilar. I think Nelson had the kind of the higher ceiling, depending on based on if we're going to go like draft capital, right, and kind of his stock and everything. I think he was projected to kind of be the more talented player. But I think John Brown's pretty consistent when he's again healthy and on the field. I think he's going to be an immediate fit with Derek Carr and this offense here and what we're trying to run. So him being versatile, being able to play the X receiver for us in our offense, I think it's going to be a big deal because our X receivers have been hurt the past like 2 or 3 seasons, and it's kind of hard to get the full picture. John Gruden's a receiver guy. I don't think a lot of people remember that because of his QB camp, right? But he made his bread and butter off these receivers. So Nelson Aguilar just got what 13, 15, whatever $1 million per season after the 1 year deal with us. So obviously we're doing something right, especially when John Brown's saying he took less money to come here because he liked the fit and he liked Derek Carr and John Gruden. So ultimately, I think he's going to have a pretty good impact as far as stats or projections. That's too hard. I think we're too volatile of an offense based on the weapons and Darren Waller being the true number one in the offense anyway at this point. So, but I think he's a sneaky good addition that's going to be helpful for us moving the chains moving forward.
Oh, come on. Does he get closer to 900 or 600 yards?
I could see him around about 700 yards.
Paul?
I actually flagged this one because I love this signing. This was the one that stuck out for me, even though it's not like the big sexy deals that we like to see. But I mean, for me, it's like, hey, dude, you got him for 1 year, $4 million when these other clowns are signing for like 10, $12 million. You got Nelson Aguilar making 13 million a year on 2 year deal. And I feel like you got John Brown, who's making $10 million less and is a better version of Nelson Aguilar. I think it's a win-win for them. You mean John Brown was a wide receiver one in 2019 with during Josh Allen's inconsistent play year, and he still put up pretty good numbers. So I think he's super underrated. I love the deal. I think he's shown that he can play at a high level, and to get him for that kind of price, and save, and especially comparing what Nelson got, I mean, I think this was a home run for me.
Absolutely agree. I love John Brown. All right, your opinion. What's the better move? Who's going to have a better year? Will Fuller in Miami or Kenny Galladay with the New York Football Giants?
Ooh.
Wow.
Well, let me see. Is Fuller still missing a couple games from his suspension from last year? I feel like he's missing maybe 1 or 2.
As of right now, let's say he plays 16. I'll look at.
I'm gonna say Galladay just because he's gonna be the true numbers wide receiver one in New York, where in Miami, I'll give him credit. He's really good when he's healthy, Fuller. Like,
Yeah.
no doubt about it. He's really good when he's healthy. But I mean, it's pretty much a guarantee he's going to miss some games. Although Galladay was hurt a lot last year, but I just feel like Galladay is more entrenched as the number one receiver, whereas Fuller's kind of, it kind of depends. They still got Devontae Parker, and
Gesicki.
they got the sixth pick in the draft, which that could be a receiver as well. So I think a lot could change still, depending on what they do with that draft pick. So I feel like Will Fuller is kind of a nice compliment to Parker, but I feel like Parker's still the number one guy for now. But then who knows? Dolphins could get a guy like Jamar Chase, and then that who knows where. Then we'll see where Will Fuller falls in the pecking order then. But I just feel like Galladay's like the obvious number one guy over there.
Interesting.
Yeah. No doubt. I'm actually on the same page there. I actually had Will Fuller kind of here just to kind of see what you guys thought. I think he's more of the complementary piece versus, the legitimate number one target. I mean, hey, all respect to Fuller. In the 11 games he started, he put up 879 yards and 8 touchdowns. So no doubt the fantasy owners loved him when he's on the field. you're playing him, right? That's a must start every single week, no questions asked. He's good for at least one bomb per game, or at least has that opportunity. Those air yards that everybody loves to talk about. So, but I think at this point, I understand why that they went out and did that. I think Tua was just a little bit of gun shy. I know Fitzpatrick kind of talked about that as well. But having that kind of deep threat that's been doing it in the NFL on a semi-consistent basis, at least when he's available, should give you a little bit more confidence for Tua, you would hope, to throw downfield, since you alluded to there. You have Parker and Gesicki kind of working over the field, to get you down there. But when you need a big play, you got Will Fuller to kind of open that up versus Kenny Galladay. Again, that's going to be the number one target in New York. So anytime they drop back to pass, I'm sure Daniel Jones is going to be looking for that guy, especially since Daniel Jones is looking to stick around as well in New York. So got to find the man who's making the money, right?
I think it's interesting. I think, they're not similar in stature or anything like that, but they're similar in that they're free agent signings that are very talented players with some inconsistencies. I don't think either of these guys has proven to be consistently reliable. So I think yes, they got the deals, they got their contract. It's a big year for them. I think these next 2 years are prove it years, and how it's going to, reflect on the rest of their careers and how that pans out. I don't think it's a given. Yes, on paper. Yes, probably talent-wise too. Kenny Galladay is the wide receiver one. I don't think anything's a given in that New York offense. I just don't. And I know we're talking about Miami. You guys mentioned Tua, and, there wasn't anything dazzling about it. There just wasn't. I like Will Fuller too. I like Kenny Galladay. I think Will Fuller's going to have an easier chance because he has Devontae Parker. I see that more as a 1A, 1B. I'm not classifying who's the A, though. That could very well be Will Fuller. I'm not sold right now today. It's Devontae Parker, and I just looked it up. Fuller's only missing one game. That's week 1.
Okay, yeah.
To finish out his suspension. That even missing a game, I still think Fuller is, could still have better numbers than Kenny Galladay, because I don't expect Galladay to play 16 anyway. So, but yeah, I think they're both good moves by teams that needed them. I know, Paul, you weren't in love with that contract for Galladay, right? Yeah. I know you weren't, but when you're the Giants and you need a receiver, you kind of have to pry them away with a little bit of extra cash. I think they did what they had to do, right? I think.
But look at how you're comparing Fuller and Galladay. Will Fuller's on a 1-year deal for $10 million. Galladay's on a 4-year deal for $72 million. So, and if they carry the same injury risk, then hey, we'll see how that works out.
That's true. That is true. And then, all right, so we're going to compare a couple tandem signings here by the Jets and the Washington football team. If you guys had to pick a side who you give the edge to, the Jets signed Corey Davis and Keelan Cole. I think that's a smooth move, by the way. Keelan Cole, he showed he could be a role player at the very least. Washington, they bring on Curtis Samuel and Adam Humphries. If you had to pick a side for which two signings you like the most, who would you pick?
Man, that's tough. I'm kind of leaning towards Washington football team, just because I actually really like Curtis Samuel that much. And I think Adam Humphries is just going to be a very solid option, just a nice little outlet guy for them. Pick up some yards, quick, easy yards. I had Corey Davis written down here as well in my notes. I don't know, man. I know he was like a top 5 overall pick, and he finally balled out 1 year before his payday. I don't know, man. I have a hard time seeing him, whoever is the quarterback there. I just have a hard time seeing him kind of replicating what he did last season, which was his career high, which is 984 yards. I just don't see him being 1,000-yard receiver on a consistent basis, if I'm being honest. And I like Keelan Cole. I think he's a depth signing between him and Corey. And I know they just drafted Mims as well, and they have Jamison Crowder. So they have a nice kind of collection of group total But I kind of like Curtis Samuel, Adam Humphries at this point.
And real quick before you go, Paul, Corey Davis is going against Stephon Gilmore twice and Trey White twice. That's 4 games where you can be like, all right, I'm not starting him in fantasy.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a tough one. To be honest, I didn't love either signing, Corey Davis or Curtis Samuel. I think they got too much money for what they are. Similar to what Dill said about Corey Davis, but Curtis Samuel, I like. He's just, to me, he's more of a gadget guy. I don't know. I don't know if you pay him like that, you're expecting him to be like one of your top receivers. And I know Carolina used him in different ways last year. Um, I just don't know. I just don't know how that works out to give a guy like that a 3-year deal worth over 10 million a year. It just seems like a lot for compared to what other guys got, like that we just already talked about, who are more proven. So yeah, I mean, like you said, they're both bad teams. So you like you said earlier, Wes, you kind of have to pay more to get guys that you want when you're in that situation. So yeah, I didn't love either deal, but we'll see how it works out.
For sure. Okay. And let's do another comparison here. A couple of players that re-signed with their teams. T.Y. Hilton in Indy, Juju Smith-Schuster in the black and yellow. Who's going to have a more productive season? Big Ben, he's returning to Pittsburgh. Carson Wentz is a new quarterback under center in Indianapolis.
Ooh, that's a great question. I think Juju's probably going to have the better year statistically. I think they'll probably try to get him more involved. I think Ty it's going to be a good outlet, but I think Michael Pittman might be a favorite of Carson Wentz as the season goes on. Personally,
Yeah. No, I liked both. I like both of these signings. They're both making less than Corey Davis and Curtis Samuel.
yeah,
They're way more proven, which gets back to my point about the overpay. But anyways, yeah, I mean, Hilton had a little bit of a down year last year, but you know, you can tell he's still super talented, and he's had years before where he's been productive. He's still pretty young, so I'm not too worried about him. And I think, bringing him back was the right move, because at that point in free agency, when they signed him back, most of the guys were gone. So might as well bring back someone you're familiar with. And then same with Juju, rumors are he left more money on the table with the Chiefs, even, to come back to the Steelers. So,
I'm thankful.
to get him for 1 year, 8 million is a good value signing for them, because he's still you know capable of doing big things. With Ben, and there's familiarity there. So with Ben, coming close to the end of his career, you definitely want to keep as many weapons in house as you can.
Yeah, so now we all know this time next year he's going to the Chiefs. Juju is going to the Chiefs next year. It's a 1-year deal. So Big Ben's gone. He goes play with Mahomes. Sorry, Dill.
No, it's not happening. But good try.
All right.
Stay out my division.
And 2 guys that got franchise tagged: Allen Robinson, Chris Godwin. 1, who has the better season? And 2, who gets franchise tagged again next offseason?
Man.
Allen Robinson returning to Chicago. Not really the happiest wide receiver, but that's kind of something we're used to hearing these days. Chris Godwin, he's not the only good receiver in town. Tampa can't keep paying everyone.
Right.
I'm still leaning Allen Robinson, man. It doesn't seem like the Bears are willing to really work that out at this point. I don't know if Andy Dalton's going to be the guy moving forward for them either. And I don't know if he really wants to get a long-term deal done, depending on, his kind of rapport with the team and Andy Dalton this year. But I mean, it seems like he's invested wherever he's going to be. But ultimately, I think A-Rob's probably going to be the greater chance of being tagged at this point again.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe for a little bit of different reason. First off, I think Allen Robinson will have a better year just because they don't have anyone else, and
Sure.
he consistently gets 100, close to 100 targets, 100 catches a year. So Dalton's going to be feeding the ball a lot, whereas Godwin's in Tampa, where they have a ridiculous amount of weapons. So the chances of him matching his production, I think, are slim. And then as far as the franchise tag, yeah, I think Allen Robinson's definitely more likely to get tagged, just because. Yeah, I don't think Robinson necessarily wants to sign there long term unless they can show like, hey, we're actually going to start building something, and you know we want you to be part of that future. So I think there's a really good chance he either gets traded or he signs with another team next offseason. And then um, with Godwin, I think there's a less chance if he gets tagged again, just because when you're on a team like that with Brady and stuff, if Brady wants to keep playing, I could see him taking like a hometown discount to like
Yeah.
save the team money and just sign for like a longer term deal. So I could see them like working that out.
At those voidable years, right?
And then one last note on the wide receiver position. Marvin Jones, veteran, going to Jacksonville. We know they're going to draft Sunshine, Trevor Lawrence. They already have DJ Chark and Laviska Shenault. I mean, this is beyond just Marvin Jones. I think he's a great veteran signing. You guys know I'm a fan of Marvin Jones. I think he's very reliable. Jacksonville offense. Can they surprise us as early as year one under Urban Meyer?
I think they can, man. I'm actually still a big DJ Chark fan. Just seeing him out there last year, just frustrating with quarterback play. Allen Robinson knows all about that as well, so he should be taking notes from him. But yeah, Laviska Shenault, definitely kind of a jack of all trades, kind of a joker player as well. And yeah, Marvin Jones, dude, super consistent dude. Any team would love to welcome in, right? He's some teams he could be a depth signing, but some teams he can be a pretty vital piece. And he was doing his thing in Detroit the past couple of seasons, so that was cool to see. But yeah, I think they can be sneaky, decent in offense as far as stats. I don't know if that's going to translate to wins right away. Unfortunately, usually doesn't, with this early process of a rebuild. But I think they're, getting the right pieces together just to at least give this man a chance. Sunshine, as you call them, give him a chance in the first season. Have some guys to throw to, make some plays.
Sunshine, sunshine. Jacksonville O, Paul?
Ooh, it looks frozen for me.
Hey, yeah. All right. We'll have to bring him back in this convo in just a moment. Paul, are you still with us?
There we go. It looks like he's working on it.
Hey, sorry guys. Had a little malfunction there, so good.
No worries.
Good.
No worries. Do you have a take on the Jaguars offense?
Yeah, no, yeah, it's gonna be interesting because who knows, Urban Meyer coming from college, first year in the NFL, getting this quarterback who's once in a lifetime type of prospect according to a lot of scouts. So it's going to be super interesting to watch them and see what they do. You know, yeah, it's hard to say what they're going to look like at this point because there's just so many moving parts from last season. But yeah, I like the Marvin Jones signing. They got a lot of young players. A guy like him who's a veteran guy who does things the right way. Is definitely, I think, is good for some of those younger receivers to learn from, and also just give Trevor Lawrence, just someone reliable and someone he can probably learn from too. Spending all those years with Stafford and all the discussions they must have had. I'm sure he has a lot of knowledge he can share with Lawrence as well.
I hear that. All right. Tight end position coming up. Check out the names. We've touched upon Jonnu Smith already to New England. Him and Hunter Henry, the new tandem. It's been a while since we saw Rob Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez. Those were some great offensive years for the Patriots. Clearly the winners at the tight end position this offseason. Not one, but two. Do you love or just like the move, Dylan?
Man, that's tough. Right now, I just like it. Pretty much going on Paul's reasoning there. Just, man, all that money spent, it didn't really seem that necessary. I don't know what the market was. I didn't see any other reports about people kind of going, that all in on some of these tight ends. But ultimately, hey, they targeted their guys. They obviously have a vision in place. That's why they were able to get some of these deals done that quickly here. I guess my thing is at this point, I'm still trying to decipher who's going to be kind of leading that tandem there as far as yards this season. I'm still going back and forth. I think kind of where I landed at this point is Jonnu actually leading in yards. I think on paper, I see Henry being kind of the better, blocking tight end if you're kind of just ranking them two specifically. So I can see kind of maybe Hunter blocking a little bit more in some of those like run heavy packages. So again, that's just kind of my initial thoughts. No idea what their offense is going to look like. But I think on those run heavy packages where both Jonnu and Henry are in, Jonnu could be the one kind of draping off because he can get a lot of yak and take one to the house, where Henry's kind of more just, hey, I'm a move the chains guy. And I actually really like Henry, but right now I'm kind of leaning to Jonnu, kind of leading that tandem in yards at this point, even though I don't think we've really seen Jonnu have a season over like 500 or 600 yards. So that's kind of my pausing point at that, just to kind of see, is he really going to be capable of leading this tandem when he's never done it in his career? So I don't know, man. It's a lot of money.
Yo, Paul, man, are both are Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry both draftable in fantasy leagues?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Because I mean, yeah, they both got paid. They're the big names right now that hit, the tight end market in a pretty quiet offseason for tight ends, really. I mean, the only other maybe notable thing was Gronkowski coming back, which we all knew was going to happen. And then Jared Cook is the only other kind of notable name that got moved. So yeah, I don't know what to think on that. I think, just with the way Cam played last year, and his passing struggles, I honestly don't think either of them I would start in fantasy until I'd see something. I'd have to see how they play the first month, but just based on how Cam played last year, and then the fact that they signed both of them and signed all the other receivers too, it just, I mean, they're still good. They still should be a running team, kind of like they were last year, where Cam gets a lot of carries and then they rely on the run game because the passing struggles. So yeah, based on that, I don't think I'd draft either guy, honestly.
What? Either guy? Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I'm staying away.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm on the caution yellow light right there for both of them too.
Wow. Okay. I think Jonnu Smith has to be the guy you draft. I think Hunter Henry is a more fringe. Maybe you sign him week 2 after he probably catches a touchdown week 1. Maybe Jonnu has the better game or something. I get it. All right. I'm a little surprised. I expect them to do some really good things. You look at the rest of the roster: N'Keal Harry, Jacoby Myers, James White, Nelson Aguilar. So those are the best 4 options outside of tight end. They have to make Smith and Henry the top 2 options in this offense to succeed, in my opinion, especially when you consider they're going to run the ball with Cam Newton. He's still going to be running. They're going to run it with Damian Harris if he's on the field and Sony Michel if he's on the field. They're going to run the ball, but when they throw it, it has to be to these 2 guys, I would think, if they're going to put up some W's, is what I'm saying. Then you go around Jared Cook signing, replacing Hunter Henry with the Chargers. Jared Cook is probably higher on your list, right, than both of the guys in New England in terms of fantasy.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that with Herbie out there. Yeah.
Okay. And then Rob Gronkowski, does he rank the highest of these 4 tight ends that we're talking about here?
I'd put him ahead of the New England guys, but I would have Cook higher on the list just because Gronkowski, they got all the weapons in Tampa. Yeah. Plus, they got Cameron Brate, who got action too. So, there were some games where Gronkowski had solid games, but then there was other games where you just didn't have a target, and he was just asked to block. So yeah.
Yeah, the volatility in that offense is it's pretty hard to predict, especially at the tight end position there. I mean, they're going to feed Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, so that's pretty tough. Especially you want to spell Gronk throughout the season, which obviously they did a pretty good job last year. But there's another name, at least kind of caught my eye, was Gerald Everett. I know he's not a world beater, but I just think Seattle gets a little bit more athletic at that position. I mean, hey, all due respect to Jacob Hollister, he was a solid player, but I think Gerald Everett gives him, again, a more versatile target, more athletic dude who can kind of, be able to chip block and kind of release and make some plays in the pass catching field for Russell Wilson. So another target to help get some easy yards when, all the attention's on Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, obviously.
That was the guy I was going to ask you about. Everett, he's good for 300 or 400 yards a year. Looks like he's part of a tandem with Tyler Higbee. He was. You mentioned Hollister. Sounds like he, did you just mention Hollister? Am I making that up?
No, yeah, I did, because he played in Seattle last year. So.
Yeah. Now he's in Buffalo. Hey, maybe Gerald Everett takes a step forward. I don't know. I'm not willing to make that call.
Yeah.
And then, so another veteran, Paul, impact, you can keep it as simple as this: impact or no impact. I'm going to give you 3 guys. First, Kyle Rudolph. Impact or no impact?
No impact.
Okay. That just sounds
no hesitation. I love it.
Nick Vannett.
No impact.
Dan Arnold.
No impact.
So Dill, Dan Arnold, he showed some flashes last year with the Cardinals. You don't think it's in a high power, a talented offense with young offensive minded coaches that are supposed to be some of the best coaches. Can you see Arnold becoming fantasy relevant? By becoming, I mean top 12 or 14.
I could see it. I mean, it's definitely possible. I mean, especially at the tight end position in fantasy, it's really not that hard to be in the top 10 or 12. You just need a decent amount of target share in your offense. And if they're willing to, right, they obviously saw something in him and were able to bring him in. So they obviously have some sort of plan. Just, it's going to be tough. You kind of have to kind of wait and see with a lot of the tight ends, I think, outside of the top 3 guys at this point. So, but yeah, I think he can be relevant. Top 10 to 12 tight end, not that hard to achieve, unfortunately.
Yeah, Sam. So we're gonna have Sam Darnold thrown to Dan Arnold. Okay, that's cool. But anyways,
oh man.
Another thing I was gonna throw out is, hey, Zach Ertz, does he go to any of these teams on this list? I personally think if he gets traded, it's between the Colts and the Seahawks. I know we just mentioned Gerald Everett, but getting a Seahawks, a team that's in win now mode, could definitely see them going for a guy like Ertz, and then also Colts, obviously, because of the Wentz connection. So I think that'll be an interesting question too with this tight end offseason where not the biggest names are moved, and we're trying to push up guys that aren't the most talented guys and seeing if they have any fantasy value, but it's hard to see any of them having major impact besides some of the guys we mentioned already. But for me, one of the more intriguing things is, hey, where does Zach Ertz end up?
And I think the Jets is another destination. A former front office guy from Philly is now running the show, Joe Douglas in New York. And hey, sometimes that's all you need is a locker room leader. And, it's a very young team, the Jets, young team, first year of a regime. They're probably looking for some vets. And that's a trade I could see coming, aside from Seattle, who I agree with, Indy, who I agree with. I see those as well. And yeah, we got to tip our caps off, man. Jason Witten, Greg Olson. Jason Witten's a Hall of Famer, right?
Yes.
No doubt. Yeah, no doubt.
All right. Just checking. Agreed. Greg Olson?
No.
I'd say no.
Like-
As much respect I have for him in his career, I still say no.
Agreed. Clean sweep. And then Vance McDonald also retires. And then that'll do it for the tight position.
I thought you were adding him like Vance McDonald Hall of Fame. I was like,
Yeah.
what? Where is he going with it?
Right. Alley-oop. Well, just one more thing about Zach Ertz. I actually kind of would have liked to see him on Buffalo, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
I could see why they didn't want to give up capital to go get him. If they could just go sign somebody, outright in free agency like they did. But who knows? Maybe that's still in the works. But I would like to see him there. Just wanted to add my 2 cents there.
I love that. Okay, say Josh, knock on wood. And by the way, if Vance McDonald ever watches this, I was trying to give you a shout out that you retired, man. So Buffalo, say they sign Zach Ertz, and I'll knock on wood, say Josh Allen gets injured. You got Zach Ertz, you got Emmanuel Sanders, you got Stephon Diggs, you got a couple young backs. With Mitch Trubisky, can they win a playoff game?
Ooh. I still say yeah. I'll go with they could still win a game.
I think so too. I think he has enough support around him, and hopefully he would get coached up by the time playoff comes around if he needed to come in, by then. So I could see it.
Could they beat the Chiefs?
Not with Mitch.
With Mitch, no.
Okay. Enough said about the tight end position in Buffalo there. It's getting ugly here. It's getting real ugly. In the trenches, offensive linemen. They get signed too, man. These are the ones that paved the way for all the guys we just talked about. They let the other guys have all the fun on the field. But they deserve some love too. They deserve some shout outs. There's some Pro Bowlers on here like Kevin Zeitler. Good signing by Baltimore, man. I mean, they're just so smart. They're always looking to get better in the trenches, aren't they?
Absolutely.
You got to.
And then Cam Robinson gets the franchise tag in Jacksonville. I would imagine, next offseason they come to a deal. I would imagine. He's a young player about to get his second contract. I think he's good. What about you?
Who was it? It was breaking up for me. I'm sorry. Who?
Cam Robinson.
Oh, yeah. I think he'll end up getting paid. I think he's a solid piece, and man, I don't know. It's definitely tempting just to go draft one and develop and, kind of cheaper that way. But ultimately, you should be able to pay somebody that, you were able to kind of develop as well. And I think they'll find a deal for him. He's solid. I don't think there's any reason not to sign him. There's no red flags or warnings for me on his play so far.
Yeah, it's interesting they tag him. I mean, I know he's young. I get it. High pick. Rated 61 on PFF. I mean, it's tough in there. Do you think they'll extend him, Paul?
I could see it just because unless they have a better option that they can think of, when you're taking a guy number one who's one of the best quarterback prospects, you're going to want to try to protect him at all costs. You want to keep those flowing locks nice and clean back there. So, I think like we saw with Joe Burrow last year, the Bengals trotted him out there and they got nobody to block. And now he's got this horrible knee injury. So, if I'm investing in a guy like Lawrence, I'm protecting him at all costs.
I hear it. I agree. Completely agree. Some other notable signings: Joe Thuney, Kyle Long returning, coming from retirement to the Chiefs. Kansas City beefing up inside after releasing both of their tackles. Colton Miller, Dill, I know you like that re-signing there in Vegas.
Yeah, cold. My thought process is, again, I know it's a lot of money. We did it early. People are kind of mad of how they structured it because it impacts our cap. I think he adds like another $7 or $9 million in additional cap space to this season. But again, we're trying to get ahead of it. We just saw what Trent Williams got. By no means am I thinking Trent Williams is going to see that $26 million or whatever it is by that third year anyway. I'm pretty sure San Fran will move on, but I think we're just trying to get ahead of the game. Again, we have a pillar. We drafted him. We developed. He's gotten better every single season. He's an Iron Man, doesn't want to miss games. And first season was not really too healthy, but he still gutted it out and played and, got some growing pains. Being a left tackle in the NFL as a rookie starting day one is no easy task. So, I think it was definitely a smart deal to get that done now. And solidify that line, especially with all the other changes that we probably don't have time to cover on our offensive line here. But we just wanted to solidify that piece and make sure that the left side's protected. And then right next to him, we still got Richie Incognito, who's on the list here as well. So left side's held down, and from there we do got some question marks that we're definitely going to have to make sure that when we show why that we moved on from some of the guys on the right hand side.
And Paul, they're trying in Cincinnati to help Joe Burrow. They signed Riley Reef. Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, just throwing that out there. They're trying a little bit.
Yeah.
I read some reports that Joe Burrow wants his buddy at wide receiver in the draft. Do they have to go O-line?
I mean, I think they'd be smart to take, Penei Sewell at 5 if he's there, and just have him have your cornerstone left tackle. He's definitely by most, scouts the number one tackle in the draft, and he's got a super high ceiling. So, and then seeing what happened to Joe last year, wouldn't you want to get as much talent as you can around him? I know the Bengals could still use receivers, now that AJ Green's gone, but I feel like, they got some good guys. I think Tyler Boyd is a solid receiver. And then T. Higgins played really well last year. So, they got a couple receivers that I think they can do well with. I don't necessarily think they need to take a receiver that high in the draft. I would maybe you can get one, in the mid rounds, but I feel like, anytime you can improve your trenches and the need matches, with the actual value of the pick, I think that's a slam dunk for me.
I got something radical. What if they just draft Jamar Chase, the trio of Jamar Chase and the other guys you mentioned, T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd? Sounds ridiculous. With Burrow and Joe Mixon, and then spend the rest of your draft and any free agent money you have on the offensive line and hope something sticks. I don't know. That sounds ridiculous.
Personally, I was going to say, I think you can get away with it in this draft, though. I think if that's really the route they want to go, again, you're not going to get that top left tackle. You got to understand that, right? You got to be able to understand you got to draft and develop these guys. But I think they can get away with getting offensive linemen in that second round. They're still picking high. At the end of the day, some talent's going to fall in that second, third round, especially at the O-line position. It's pretty good draft if you need a lineman. So not too far-fetched. I think they can get away with it. Just they got to be strategic about it.
For sure. And then some other notable sightings. Corey Linsley is huge to the Chargers. David Andrews sticks in New England. Dan Feeney to the Jets. Those are some good players on the O-line. Joe Haig in Pittsburgh as well. That's another actually very good signing in Haig. And then Dill, you mentioned it a little bit ago. Trent Williams, San Fran. Alex Mack, too, reunites with Kyle Shanahan, who used to coach him in Atlanta. Some older players there that, I don't know. I know Trent Williams played at an extremely high level just at some point in time. It's going to happen, man. We've seen two great left tackles, Jason Peters might not be on the team this year. He had a great career, but he was, stumbling for the past 3-4 seasons. And then the dude in Dallas, left tackle, what's his name again?
Tyron Smith.
Yeah, man. These, all it takes is like the wrong timing for the wrong injury. And, I think the Niners, for a team that prides itself in being strong in the trenches, is playing with fire a little bit on the end line. Even though I do like the career that Trent Williams and Alex Mack both have had, I think they're playing with fire, especially in that division. That's a physical division. It just is. That's tough. Any other O-line signings you like? I like Brandon Scherf. I've been wanting to steal him from Washington for years. Happening at all. Anything else catch your attention before we move on to the defensive side of the ball?
For me personally, it was Taylor Moton in Carolina. That was a right tackle that I was kind of circling once the Trent Brown situation was getting sorted out. But obviously they tagged him, and I think they ultimately pay him. But this dude's been an Iron Man. That's the way I put it. In the last 3 seasons, he's played at least 99% of snaps. He's only penalized 2 times last season and gave up 3 sacks last season. So he's solidifying that right side of the line. You don't have to worry about that. I know that's a bigger emphasis I've kind of noticed in the past couple of years, making sure that the right tackle is a solidified position on that line. And he's just an athletic dude that can get in the second level and maul over some people. So I think they got a good one there. Just like Robinson, I think they'll figure it out after this season. I think with the COVID and the cap going down, tag was just a smart thing to do with some offensive linemen here, just to give yourself some wiggle room.
All right. And Paul, anything?
No, I mean, no one else besides people we've already mentioned, but just some. I'll add on to Trent Williams a little bit because I know that was the big signing, but I know it's a lot of, some people will say, that's way too much money for a guy, he's 32, 33, he's kind of had some seasons where he was kind of MIA, but I mean, when he plays, he's elite. He was elite again last year. He's one of the top graded tackles. And I guess if I'm in the Niners situation, I'm okay with the deal. I just think it's so rare that you see a guy of his caliber even sniff the open market. And the fact that if you're able to lock up a guy like that, I think you do what it takes to get it done. So just, yeah, I mean, I think you've seen tackles who can go into their late 30s. It's not the best scenario, but, I'm sure Niners protected themselves later in that, deal where they can get out of it, and stuff like that. But so, yeah, I mean, I just think, they're in a win now mode and they got to keep their lineup right. And he's, one of the top tackles in the game. So I like the move.
I hear it. And then, some guys that have retired: Mike Pouncey, Marquise Pouncey, Anthony Costanzo, and Mike Iupati. Any of the Pounceys or Costanzo Hall of Fame worthy or candidates ever at some point?
I think Costanzo retired young, which was surprising,
Yeah.
And I think the Pounceys were just injured too much. So, I don't see it.
Yeah, that's tough. I don't know. I feel like you have to definitely just completely stand out as a lineman. And I don't know. I think they're all serviceable, good dudes. But yeah, I don't think Hall of Fame nods, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't either. Costanzo was a surprise. I do agree with that as well. I'm trying to look at the Hall of Fame monitor, see if anybody's even close. If anyone, I think it'd be Marquise. But let me see here. Yeah, no, Marquise, he's got a grade of 73 on the Hall of Fame monitor. The average for a center is 108. So I mean,
Yeah.
that was the only hope of that group, I would think. And
Yeah, like Dill said, if you're a center, you really got to stand out to make the haul.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's hard, man. That's hard. I'm trying to see if Costanzo has a chance at all.
It's tough because I don't even know how old he is, but yeah, that was crazy. I
I
didn't
don't even
expect
think
that.
he's 30 yet.
Right? That's what I thought.
Not even close. No.
20.
No. I mean, he was good, man. I just,
Yeah, he was.
yeah, that's tough. Came in the league 2011, just retired. Yeah, he was really good, but no, not even close on Pro Football Reference's meter at least. And hey, that'll do it for the offensive line position. Moving over to the defense. JJ. Defensive line. JJ Watt to the Arizona Cardinals, the big name there with the big money. Did JJ Watt? Well, I already know the answer to this question. I don't think y'all, especially Paul, I don't think you like how much he got paid. Do you like the move, though, to Arizona for that defense?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you can add a player like JJ Watt, he's still elite. If you look at his numbers, and you can even back it up with PFF grades if that's your thing, but both have shown that he still plays at a high level. So I think Arizona wasn't great on defense last year, so anytime you can add a guy like that, even if it's maybe a little bit of an overpay, I think it's still a solid deal, and he gets to reunite with Hopkins.
Yeah, they get to finish some business out there. I agree with Paul. It's like, hey, why wouldn't you jump on the chance of doing this? Obviously, the money, eye-opening, but at the end of the day, sometimes you gotta break out that checkbook in order to bring it in to, kind of take your team to the next level, especially when you're losing somebody like, Patrick Peterson, which I'm sure we might talk about in a little bit here anyway.
Arizona Cardinals, contender or pretender?
Oof.
Tough division.
Yeah, I could
say pretenders.
But yeah, I mean, you could argue they're the fourth. They're the the worst team in their division, even after the talent, even with.
Damn,
I agree. Yeah.
Sledding in the NFC West, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough. Definitely didn't draw the easy straw.
Go ahead, Dill. Floor is yours on the Las Vegas Raiders signings, just on the D line alone.
Yeah, I don't even know if we can fit all those linemen on our list here, but obviously the big money there, and actually, pretty decent and smart money if you ask me. Obviously Ngakoue, he's that assassin. Just hey, go get some sacks, right? Even with kind of the odd year that he had, kind of bouncing around between those two teams, getting traded, he still put up 8 sacks with all the turmoil there, and I think ultimately, he's not going to probably be out there on first downs for us. I think Cleveland's still going to be starting out there, and who knows? We have a lot of other linemen that are kind of versatile that can play inside, D tackles and move out to the DN position. So, but yeah, he's going to be a heavy hitter there. And Solomon Thomas, again, taking a flyer on a blue chip player, high draft stock. Taking less money to join us here as well, and bringing in some of our own, like bringing in Jonathan Hankins back and Quentin Jefferson. He actually, I think that's a big signing as well. Again, he's versatile. He can play defensive end. He's played in the Seattle scheme as well. And he was also college teammates with Yannick Ngakoue in Maryland. So a lot of guys with familiarity with each other. Again, there's also Phil Bin that we got from the Chargers, who kind of had some trouble off the field as well. So there's a lot of dudes we're bringing in. And obviously the most pumped about is, Yannick Ngakoue going out there. I envision him opposite side of Max Crosby. So I expect big things from Unique. I expect double-digit sacks to kind of lead the way and kind of lead that room. And he's still young enough, but he's going to be the veteran in that group. So that's going to be pretty cool to kind of see them develop and grow over the next 2 years with him on the line as well.
I know Paul was a big fan of that Ngakwe signing.
Oh yeah, this is one of my favorite moves of free agency. You're looking at, he got 2-year, $26 million deal, for a guy who's, one of the top pass rushers in the market. That's I was shocked when I saw the numbers come in, like Dill said, he's been a productive pass rusher his whole career, so far. And I was looking at it, I was just like trying to think of comparisons for him. And, I look at a guy like Frank Clark, who got 5-year, $100 million deal last year. And the Chiefs traded capital to get him, like premium draft picks. And it's just like pass rushers should get paid like that. And it's just shocking that they're able to pull a deal like this for a guy like that. So I just compare like those two right there, and I'm just like, wow, like, it's amazing, and of course you can make the argument, he's not the best run defender, but how much do we really care if a DN can stop the run anymore when we're in this new pass happy NFL, so it's like, I don't know how valuable that skill is anymore. Of course you'd love if your guy could stop the run, but if you're going to ask me whether if he is a better run defender or pass, or if he can get after the quarterback, I'm taking the pass rushing skills all day. So
I hear it. I love the Ngakwe signing. I like everything the Raiders have been doing, Dill. You know that. Just fantastic work. I think Mike Mayock deserves some credit. I think they're building something, man. They won 7 games last year. Imagine if Antonio Brown had his head straight to play in Vegas. But, hypotheticals, I know, but I think that's a playoff team on the brink, especially with the 7th seed opening up. Some other signings I like, Dalvin Tomlinson. I think he's a really good player, Minnesota. Then we got Leonard Williams getting the tag to stick with the Giants, at least for now. Then you got other teams, Ndamukong Suh, he sticks around trying to repeat in Tampa Bay. But Paul, do any of these other moves catch your attention?
There was 2 others that I liked. Trey Hendrickson going to the Bengals. I really like the way he played. I think he was super underrated, someone that not a lot of people know about, but whenever he was on the field last year with the Saints, he made big plays happen. So I think he's gonna be a force, and he's gonna have a big opportunity, with the Bengals. And then I'm looking at Romeo Okwara, with the Lions. I was super shocked about that deal. I think he got, like, I forget the terms, but it was just, 3-year deal, but I think it was just a great value signing. So those are kind of 2 of the things that kind of caught my attention as far as like value and the productivity of the actual player.
Nice. How about you, Dill? Anything else here?
Yeah, I actually like Carl Lawson as well, going to the Jets. I think that'll be kind of a nice fit there. Salah, gets a nice little edge rusher that he can kind of work on as well. And Kerry Hyder, I know it's kind of a random name, but that was actually somebody I was hoping that we can bring in, into Vegas. But Seattle gets, a couple guys that can come in and rush the passer between him and Benson Mayoa, also a former Raider as well. So, yeah, Seattle doing work always.
Yeah, that's true. And I like Malik Jackson, that signing. Cleveland's doing their thing. I will say.
Yeah, shout out to Cleveland for sure.
Oh yeah, I'll get into them later when we get to safeties.
Oh,
But yeah, I like Malik Jackson individually, and I like what the Browns are doing collectively. Let's move over to the linebackers. All right, Quan Alexander in New Orleans. That's interesting. I think he's still good. Let's see.
Yeah, as long as he stays healthy.
yeah,
Right.
no doubt.
That's what it comes down to for a lot of guys, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Bud Dupree, the big signing in Tennessee. Titans, they're trying to make moves, man, aren't they?
They are. I wrote Bud Dupree and Matt Judon. Those are two guys I'm not entirely sure on. I just really wanted to get your guys' thoughts on there. Obviously with Judon, I'm giving the benefit of the doubt with Bill Belichick. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, if he's bringing in somebody, he's going to have a role for them. So I guess as far as production, his numbers might look fine. To me, I'm not too sold on Bud Dupree or Matt Judon, especially for the money that they got, just personally.
I agree. Especially if you compare it to like what Shaq Barrett got. Yeah, going back to what I was talking about with Godwin and the hometown discounts, I think that kind of happened here. You know, you got a guy who was willing to take probably less than he could have got if he went to somewhere else. And, you know, he's obviously he's perfect fit for their defense, and he's been balling out the last couple of years. So, I think that's a big win for the Bucks. The rich get richer, you know. Another under the radar kind of signing that I really liked probably most out of this group is Hassan Reddick to the Panthers. They got him for super cheap, 1 year, $6 million. The dude had 12.5 sacks last year. He's going to be the only real question mark I have is he's going to be coming from a 4-3 defense or a 3-4 defense to a 4-3 in Carolina. So he'll probably end up playing the Sam linebacker position, but just really came on last year. You know, he wasn't very good, to be honest, the first few years. And then he had his coming out party last year, 12.5 sacks, and again, I think he had 5 sacks in one game versus the Giants last year. So a lot of his production came in like the last few games of the season. But I mean, when, like we're talking about, the kind of money you can get being a pass rusher, and you get a guy who just had 12.5 sacks, get only 1 year, $6 million. I just think, just a great move all around, total low risk. So love it.
Nice, man. I like that pick. I'm looking at Matt Judon, Dill. You got me scratching my head a little bit. I actually didn't think too much of it, to be honest, as well. I didn't think you were on the same boat, to be honest. So I went to look. I'm like, all right, he's a linebacker. I know he gets tackles. Let me look at his sack numbers. I'm just curious. Sacks aren't everything, don't get me wrong. I was just curious what that number was. So I'm looking. He's been in the league 5 years. His sack total from rookie year to now, 4, 8, 7, 9.5, and 6. Those are pretty good numbers. I mean, maybe not what the Patriots paid, but then again, you're prying someone away from the Baltimore defense. You're probably gonna have to pay him. I like what they did in that sense. Another AFC contender. You're Bill Belichick. You think you're still contenders. Last year, you kind of throw out, you're like, yeah, whatever. Blah, blah, blah. But so that you all know the mindset of the Patriots is that they're contenders. That's what they believe, and they think they're hurting another AFC foe in Baltimore, and they are. And then they bring back Kyle Van Noy. Raekwon McMillan comes from Miami. I think those are all solid signings. I think you had something else to say on Matt Judon.
So, yeah, I was just going to say for both him and Bud Dupree, my thing was they're both coming from blitz-heavy schemes. So I feel like whatever sacks that they were getting, that to me, that's more of a result of their scheme. And that was my worry about, especially Tennessee paying top dollar. Obviously, they were, in the bottom tier of the league as far as getting any type of sack usage. So they had 19 total sacks on the season, I believe. So anybody that they brought in was going to be a big help. So I don't know, man. It's just a lot of money. I don't think Bud Dupree's that talented as far as an edge rusher. I think it was mostly a scheme fit. And I think, again, Matt Judon, to me, has the better chance of success because of Bill Belichick and the scheme. So kind of giving that a little bit more of a pass. But again, it's a lot of money for two guys that were playing in blitz heavy schemes that to me still weren't putting up the sack numbers I think that they should be able to.
For sure. I get it. Totally get it. I haven't been all hyped on Bud Dupree, and he did tear his knee in December. That's tough. That's just tough. Titans, again, doing what part of what I think the Patriots did to the Ravens is the Titans, grabbing Bud Dupree from the Steelers, another AFC foe, a team in the playoff mix, with a similar style of defense at that. So,
Correct. No doubt.
Dupree's in a position to continue what he started at the very least in Pittsburgh. I think it just depends on him bouncing back. That knee injury, when all you have to do is rush the passer, you're going to get chipped in all these different angles in the hips and the knees, and that I'd be scared to come back from a pass rusher, let alone any position in general. But I don't know. I don't think Bud Dupree's going to come back strong and just be what he was. I mean, Paul, you think of Bud Dupree as a player?
No, I agree with what all you guys are what you guys are saying. It's tough. Like, I think Dylan made a good point about them being in blitz heavy schemes, and sometimes, sacks are great, but sometimes that's not a true telling of how good a player is. Sometimes a guy might get five out of their 12 sacks for a season might be because they just went unblocked because the defensive coordinator is good at scheming something to confuse the O-line, and then you end up with an unblocked rusher off the edge, and then he gets a free sack. It's not really a true telling of how good they are. I think to make that point, like with us being Eagles fans, we know well aware that Brandon Graham is one of the best, probably underrated pass rushers that doesn't get a lot of hype because he doesn't have the big sack numbers. But if you look at behind the numbers, you can see that he wins and he gets a lot of hurries on quarterbacks, even though he might not finish it with the sack. Getting by your defender and getting in the face of a quarterback is kind of the key. As far as who gets the sack, maybe one guy trips him and the other guy finishes. As far as the actual sack, it's kind of more up in the air. So it's not the end all be all kind of telling stat. So I think that's something you got to look at too when you're signing guys like this. Like, how were they getting their sacks and what kind of scheme was it? And, I think for pass rushers, it's more important than almost any other position to get the right scheme fit.
It sure is. It sure is. And I'm going to mention a free agent here. He could have, he's a tweener. I don't know if he's D-line, linebacker. Teams don't know. Jadeveon Clowney, still unsigned. I know he's played some D tackle, some DN, and even outside linebacker. Just bring him up here. They're saying, 3 teams are showing interest right now, and that's Buffalo, Vegas, and Cleveland. If you had to pick the best destination of the 3 for Clowney, Buffalo, Vegas, or Cleveland?
Honestly, I think all 3 are actually pretty great fits. I think to me, I guess the order I would put it would be, I would like to see him in Cleveland. I think that'd be a pretty cool fit. So between them and Buffalo, I would like to see that. Obviously, I would welcome him to Silver and Black. It's going to be a cheap deal at this point anyway, but I would actually really like to see him in Cleveland.
Yeah, he's an interesting one. He's he's kind of always been searching for that long-term deal, and he hasn't really got it. He played well with Seattle a couple years ago, but he was hurt. Then he really wasn't that effective in Tennessee last year. He's kind of got a little bit of issues with, if is his motor always running, questionable with that. It's like, and obviously the talent is there and he's still young. So that's why I think his agent is still trying to get a good high deal for him. And that's why it's taking him so long to get a deal, because teams are just not going to be willing to go to where he wants to go because it's just, he's such a big question mark, even though he's so talented. So he is definitely an interesting one. And I think last year Tennessee didn't sign him till very late either. So I think it'll probably happen the same way, where he probably won't get signed till, it might even be June, July, after the draft. So Like Dill said, I think Cleveland's a good fit. I think any of those are good fits. It's just a matter of, you know, once is he willing to sign for whatever their comfort zone is. I think I'll end up with maybe 1 year, $5 million if I had to guess.
Okay. It's definitely shaped up to be that you date Jadeveon Clowney, you don't propose, you don't marry.
He's a Tinder match.
That's so true. Wow, yeah.
If I had to throw a random name onto anyone's radar, you know, I'm going to throw out David Mayo's name on the radar as a guy that he was with the Giants, and I saw him have a good month of football for the Giants defensively. And we know how strong that Washington defense is, especially up front on the line. If Mayo is, taking that coaching in, he's getting coached by Jack Del Rio and Ron Rivera with a strong D line. He's a young guy. He's not proven or anything like that. I wouldn't even get on board saying he's average, to be honest. But, sometimes if a guy shows glimpses of being able to make a bunch of tackles sideline to sideline, even if he's only playing because of injury, sometimes that's all someone else needs to see in order to put you in the right position. So I think David Mayo has a chance to be a starter in Washington. It's a strong defense, and I think that's a good under-the-radar signing. That's why I bring him up. And I guess if you guys don't have anything else to bring up at linebacker, we can move over to the secondary.
Yeah, just the shout out to the Texans. That's it.
And Thomas Davis, of course.
Oh, yeah. Hey, respect. Hey, that dude was a model citizen, good player. So shout out to him. He deserves it.
Paul, were you a fan of Thomas Davis?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the way the dude fought through multiple knee injuries and still came back and played, I think he tore his ACL 3 times. And after the third time, he still came back and was playing and still playing pretty well. So, I mean, yeah, the dude's just, yeah. I don't know what else to say about the guy except he's a warrior.
Yeah, he definitely left it out there on the field.
Yeah, he was pretty damn good. I loved having him in fantasy as well. And
oh, yeah.
Just because I looked it up, I'm going to ask you guys, it's kind of a hard question, but what year did Thomas Davis get drafted?
Ooh.
I'll say 2007.
Ooh. I was going to say 2009.
2005.
Ooh.
Whoa. Wow. Wow. That's impressive.
2005.
Georgia, right?
Yes.
Wow.
I think he was drafted as a safety too.
I remember that. I do.
Yeah. Urlacher.
I think you're correct on that. And he played all but 2 seasons with Carolina.
Crazy.
Did he finish with the Chargers or did he finish elsewhere?
Washington. 7 games with Washington.
That makes sense. That makes sense, actually.
I mean, I only see he had 1 pass defended and a tackle for a loss, an assisted tackle and 5 solo. So, yeah, hardly.
Okay.
But awesome career. Awesome career for Thomas Davis. I'm just trying to see. Yeah, he had 7 years with over 100 tackles. So, yeah.
Crazy.
Hell of a career. All right, on to the secondary. I squeezed all the DBs here that I could. Cornerbacks, safeties, and you got the list in front of you. Check them out. Patrick Peterson, the big name, leaves Arizona for Minnesota. He's going to a Mike Zimmer defense. That sounds scary to me. What do you think?
Again, that was the first name I wrote down. And honestly, I don't have too many expectations here. I mean, he's coming into a division where he has to go against Devontae Adams and Allen Robinson 4 times. So I don't know, man. He didn't really look that productive to me last year on the field, and stat wise, he had 11 penalties last year. I think he led the league in that. Started all 16 games. So, hey, I'll give him that. He was available, but I didn't like what I saw last year from him. And I mean, hey, maybe he gets revitalized on a 1-year deal with Mike Zimmer. Obviously a great defensive coach to go link up with. So I think it's possible he can have a more productive season. I just find it hard to believe because of some of the competition he has to play with in this division here.
Paul.
No, I agree. Like, he's still shown, he can be a pretty solid cornerback in the league. I think there was times where, at where he is in his career, he's still not. I don't think you would consider him any like a shutdown corner. He gives up big plays, but all in all, he's still solid. And like Dill said, he's going to be going up to some big, some receivers. Some good receivers in that division. But yeah, I like the scheme fit. I think it's a good opportunity for him to, it'll be his first time playing away from Arizona. So we'll see, how he adjusts to the new system.
All right. And then Mackenzie Alexander, Xavier Woods from Dallas. Okay.
Dallas.
Safety, but I like the fit in the defense.
Same.
So I like the fit. I like what Minnesota did in the secondary here. Chiefs keeping Sorensen. I think that was smart. The Saints keeping both Williams. We'll see if they can get Marcus off that tag.
Oh, man. I love Marcus Williams.
He's pretty damn good, man. The Giants, and is it a Dory or Adderey or what?
It's a Dory.
Yeah.
Dory Jackson. He pairs up with James Bradbury.
Yep.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. I mean, like everyone was talking about the Logan Ryan thing. Like it just made too much sense. They already had a good rapport, so he recruited him. But that's a good pairing, man. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, Paul, your thoughts? You see the Giants quite a bit. Your thoughts on the Giants, not only adding Jackson, but their defense?
Yeah, they showed their defense pretty good last year, and it kept them. To be honest, that offense, Barkley got hurt again. Jones wasn't very good. Evan Ingram still drops passes every other play. It's just it's tough. Their offense was tough last year. So, anytime you can build that defense, I like Adoree Jackson. I don't like him as much as he got paid. I think he got like 3-year, $39 million, which is like, $13 million a year. So you're paying him like a number one corner, but he hasn't really on the field the last couple of years. He's been hurt a lot, so I don't know if he's going to give you that, so, best case scenario is he stays healthy and he plays well, but I thought it was overpay. But like we've been talking about, when you're not as good as a team and you're trying to get people, sometimes you have to overpay just to secure their services.
Yeah, no doubt.
Very true. Xavier Rhodes stays with the Colts. Kevin King with the Packers. And then a signing that, I texted my buddy, Pittsburgh Steelers diehard. He was bummed out that they lost Mike Hilton. And I remember this guy, it's my buddy, so we're talking football every week, right? And every week he's all over Mike Hilton. The Steelers could be winning or losing, doesn't matter. They did a lot of winning last year, though. But, dude, he's like Hilton. Owns the slot. He comes up and he's great in the run game. Probably the best tackler out of all slot corners in the game. I'm like, really? And then I'm watching, and I'm inclined to agree after paying attention for like a good 6 weeks to Mike Hilton.
I wanted that dude so bad. He was on one of the top of my list as far as addressing the secondary for, Vegas. And especially for kind of sticking with the Zimmer scheme, the slot corner is kind of a big deal. Obviously, LaMarcus Joyner, that situation. I don't think it was fair to him as well, how we were using him, but I felt like that could have been the replacement for him. But yeah, I think Mike Hilton's a really good player. So I think that was a good pickup on him.
Nice. Yeah. And then keep looking around the league, dude. It's hard to say anyone in the secondary improved more than Denver. I think they keep Justin Simmons in the back. Kareem Jackson, he's solid. And Kyle Fuller, Ronald Darby, I think they're more than serviceable guys. I still think Kyle Fuller is a really good corner. And Ronald Darby, we saw him he turned things around in Washington. I mean, Denver's looking pretty stout on the back end. It's a Vic Fangio defense. I like the pieces they're putting together. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's good to see Justin Simmons get paid. He's one of the best young safeties in the league. He got his money. I think it was like 4 years, 60 million. So he got his, but yeah, I agree. I love the Kyle Fuller signing. They got him for a 1-year deal at a reasonable rate. And I think he's still one of the top corners when healthy. So I did really like that signing. And like you said about Darby too. So yeah, they're totally, revamped on the back end. So they should have on paper have a really strong secondary next year.
Yeah, unfortunately, I do like a lot of the moves that they're doing here to revamp that secondary. Kyle Fuller, it felt like that was going to be a done deal as soon as we heard the rumblings. Just makes sense to go reunite with Fangio. Ronald Darby, yeah, definitely turning things around. I do wonder if that defensive line was that good and kind of made that secondary play a little bit better. Not just him, but the secondary in general there. But yeah, Kareem Jackson and yeah, no doubt Justin Simmons. There was no way they were going to let that dude walk away. So, rightfully so, addressing that secondary, trying to make it difficult.
And Paul, give us a word on Anthony Harris to your Eagles.
Oh man, I mean, this was easily one of the best moves of free agency. And I don't think I'm just saying that because I'm an Eagles fan, but I mean, you're talking about a guy who was a perennial top safety in the game, had a little bit of a down year last year, but before that, he was elite, one of the best safeties. If you go by PFF, he had grades over 90 the last couple of years before the prior year. So, I mean, to get him for 1 year, $5 million, when he probably could have got a 3-year deal at probably around 12 million annual. I mean, I think he just wanted to rebuild his value because he's going to, a scheme that he's going to be familiar with. And, he's got a chance to really make a lot of big plays because the Eagles, don't have much in the secondary right now. So yeah, I mean, it's great that we can get him on that 1-year deal. And I was shocked that, we got him for that.
I love the signing. Dill?
Yeah, I was going to say that was a steal. I was definitely a little bit bummed, but at the same time, happy for you guys because, hey, I definitely root for you guys as well. So that was a steal. Like you said, he's building up his value, mutually beneficial. He's going to be that veteran in the back end there, automatic leader on the defense there. So that's a huge get. Knows the scheme. He can teach it. So it's just a smart move, man. 1 year, $5 million. That's definitely a steal there.
And I know Patrick Peterson may be the biggest name, the biggest signing. Man, if we're talking about the best player on this board right here, that's John Johnson, isn't it?
Oh, hell yes. Thank you. Sorry. I was waiting to talk to him all night, man. My favorite move of free agency right here. I think he's still in his prime, 26 years old, getting him for a reasonable rate, 3-year deal. I mean, this was a home run, like in every way, I think. I mean, he's all around. If you look at if you want to go by PFF, he's been rock solid, 85 grade plus every year. He's all over the field. He's great in run support. He's great in pass coverage. He can do it all. I mean, I love this guy.
Over 100 tackles in 2 of his 4 seasons, and he was hurt one of them. Over 8 passes defended in 3 of his 4 seasons. This guy's just around the football, man. He's making plays. It's not always about picks. He does have 8 in 4 years. Dude, I agree, Paul. Home run signing here. I'm so jealous the Browns have him, but yet this is another reason why I love everything the Browns have been doing, Dill.
Yeah, no doubt. Definitely tough competition in the AFC there. They're loading up, man. Any team who was getting John Johnson in, again, they were going to be happy regardless of whatever they were paying him. But like Paul said, the value, the fit, the scheme, the talent, and just the little things that he does. And again, young, and he's a leader. just an awesome fit, man. Cleveland definitely went off, not only in this signing, but just as you both alluded to, just this offseason, man. So yeah, look out, AFC. They're not playing around. They're coming after it again.
John Johnson III played 100% of snaps last season. 100% of the defensive snaps and 18% of the special team snaps. Damn.
It's going to be a big miss. The Rams are going to miss him a lot next year.
Yeah.
Don't be
no doubt.
surprised if that defense ain't the same next year. I'm just saying right now.
Yep. Staley got out at a good time.
Yeah, he earned it. He earned it, man. Yeah. Wow. I wasn't aware you guys were all up on John Johnson like I was.
Ooh, trust me, we needed secondary help. I was looking at every option.
Yeah, of all the position groups, like I said, this was my favorite move of any position group.
That's fair.
Hard to argue with that. I won't. I love the signing. Some other signings that other teams are hopeful about. These are more flyers, but hey, stuff happens. Things can go your way. Keanu Neal is coming back from an injury. It's tough. I believe it was an Achilles injury. Dallas is hoping he can come in, man. Dallas lost Xavier Woods, so we'll see if Neal can.
I think they're moving him to linebacker too, though.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just because of all the injuries, and he's a bigger guy, so I'm pretty sure they're going to try him at linebacker first.
Okay.
And he's still playing for Dan Quinn, who's now the defensive coordinator in Dallas. And then some other flyers. I mean, I actually like what Carolina's doing. They're getting a lot of solid players to fill out the roster. Nothing spectacular, maybe a little below average, but I think there's a good signings. These are rock solid. Rashawn Melvin, Ricardo Allen, Tony Brown. I like all three. None are home runs, nothing like that. I just like the competition they're bringing in the room there. I think Carolina is doing the right things to build up there. And then San Fran's just bringing everyone back. Let's see.
Somebody I really like, I was going to bring up Marcus May, man. I was really wondering what the Jets were going to do. Paul, you might not like it. Dude, this guy plays all over the field. I don't give a dang what you got to say. This guy plays everywhere. 400 snaps at free safety, 200 snaps in the box, 125 snaps at slot corner. Part of the reason that they traded Adams, besides the value they were getting back, they felt confident they had a guy on the back end that they could have this solidified. So
he's better than Adams.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So they felt comfortable in that. Besides the compensation, they knew what they had in Marcus May. So I really like the guy. 11 pass defenses last year. He just wreaks havoc all over the field, man. So they tagged him. We'll see if he gets paid. I'm thinking they probably do it after the end of the season, deal with that next year. But I'm excited to kind of see what he does this year with Robert Saleh there.
Making plays, 2 forced fumbles, 2 sacks, 2 picks. Okay.
Yep.
He's going to break the bank next year.
Yeah, for sure.
Damn. All right. And then some other, flyers. Kevin Johnson in Tennessee, William Jackson in Washington. Nothing to make you jump out of your chair. But anything else you guys want to touch on?
Actually, yeah, I'm kind of interested to see William Jackson there, especially since, we kind of see Darby kind of revitalized there. Kind of want to see what William Jackson, because I know there's some high expectations for him, given, the kind of pedigree he had and the capital they spent on him. That was just the only other name that kind of reached out to me there.
Oh, and then we can't disregard Houston signing everybody on defense. So they're going to the Super Bowl, right? They signed all the linebackers and DBs.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'm just looking at their list here. I didn't even notice that they signed that many DBs.
Desmond King, though.
Yeah, Desmond.
Yeah.
What about Kevin King coming back?
Yeah, Green Bay was smart for that.
Yeah. He had a tough game, but it's okay.
Oh, Paul, how about the Julio Jones and the end zone stopper, Jalen Mills, to the Patriots?
Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. He's a solid player. He got way too much money, but that's this Patriots, identified guys they wanted, and they went for him day one, and they probably overpaid. That's what they say about free agency, right? The each wave is, the first wave you're going to overpay, and then if you're able to wait till that second wave, that's where the deals start coming in. So he's a solid player, a good leader, but I don't think he's worth what he got. So I'm happy he got his money, and I hope he does well.
He's worth everything the Patriots want to pay him, because none of us want to see that dynasty come back.
There you go. I like it.
All right, on to the last topic here. The head coaches, the offensive coordinators, the defensive coordinators, coaching movement around the league. And something I noticed, all 7 head coach hires are first-time head coaches. I don't recall that happening, and at least recently. Maybe you guys do. 3 former head coaches have agreed to become coordinators. Anthony Lynn back to offensive coordinator. Dan Quinn and Lovie Smith returned to defense coordinator roles. How about Lovie Smith getting back in the NFL? That's interesting. But yeah, I mean, maybe when you're looking at things from a coordinator perspective, the guys we just touched on, Dan Quinn might be the best hire at defensive coordinator when you're looking at everyone on this list. No disrespect to anyone else, just kind of highlighting a head coach, a former head coach, took a team to a Super Bowl. I don't think he ever really had the best talent in Atlanta on the defensive side of the ball. And he's coming from Pete Carroll and company. I believe his first 2 seasons as DC in Seattle, they went to the Super Bowl, won the first, lost the second. Then he jets to Atlanta. I mean, when you think about it, if the Seahawks run the ball at the 1-yard line, that's 2 rings Dan Quinn could have. And if they don't blow a
28-3,
they don't blow. It happens. I know we're speaking hypotheticals, but that's 3 rings instead of 1. How crazy the margin of.
Yeah, the career arc definitely changes there.
That's just insanity when you think about it. But yeah. Cowboys are trying to keep things somewhat consistent. They got away with it with Mike Nolan, but before him on defense, they had Chris Richard from the Seahawks, cover 3, and now Dan Quinn's coming in, try to resuscitate that defense back there. Lovie Smith, the Bears, that's what we know him for. They went to a Super Bowl. Lovie, he had 1 of 4 playoff appearances in his 8 seasons there. That was with Rex Grossman though. But before that, he was defense coordinator for the Rams Super Bowl in 2001 with 2 playoff showings in 3 years in that role. So this guy knows success. He knows how to coach. Since then, he had head coaching stints with the Buccaneers. That wasn't so successful. And most recently, over at the college level in Illinois, he brings a 4-3 cover 2 scheme to Houston. Is there any hope for the Texans, at least on defense? Lovie Smith, like it? No?
I like Lovey. I just think ultimately the defense is just missing a lot of pieces at this point. So I don't expect much from them, but I think schematically and discipline-wise, they'll probably be there, right, and at least be somewhat competitive. But I don't really see too big of an impact this season, unfortunately.
Paul, no love for Smith?
No, I mean, I like it. He's got experience. I'm not sure is he friends with Cully maybe. I'm not sure what the relationship is before he came in, but yeah, I can't imagine that being the defensive coordinator is the most attractive job for the and for the Texans. But hey, we'll see what happens. Kind of another under the radar DC signing I liked was D'Amico Ryans. He had a really good long career as a linebacker. Really, really smart. Really a cerebral dude. Had some injuries that kind of derailed his career, but I really like his potential as a defensive coordinator, and I look to him. I think he'll move up the ranks quickly.
Nice, yeah. He has been. You heard me, during this early on in the off season, I kind of wanted the Eagles to go that way. So, but yeah, we touched upon some of these guys already, just not really in depth, but Robert Saleh on the Jets. Dill, I know you love that move. Brandon Staley and the Chargers, Urban Meyer, the Jaguars. Which one of those are you excited the most about, Dill? Saleh, Staley, and Meyer?
For me, it'd be a toss-up between Salah and Meyer. Meyer, I just kind of, I'm curious to kind of see how he kind of works out in the NFL. Salah, I just think he's a good dude and he brings great energy. I want to see what he's able to do with the defense and see how he can kind of build up that offense on, with Mike LaFleur over there kind of running the show on offense. So looking forward to both sides there.
What about you, Paul? Between Saleh, Staley, and Meyer?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, it's hard not to pick Meyer just because, like Dill said, he's come from college. He's going to the Jags, the worst team, but he's also going to get this, Trevor Lawrence to work with. So just a lot of moving pieces. But I think you can be a little more excited if you're a Jaguars fan. You win the draft lottery. The Jets screwed up their chance at the number one pick, and now you get you get a quarterback you can build around, and, get a head coach who should at least have a lot of good experience and a lot of good ideas. But it remains to be seen how he'll do in the NFL. So I think that's definitely the most compelling for me.
Nice. Yeah, I'm intrigued by Urban Meyer finally coming back to coaching, but to the NFL. I think we all see the talent that is getting put together on offense in Jacksonville. Adding sunshine, Urban Meyer, that's interesting. I mean, you look at the Titans. I mean, they lose their offensive coordinator. They're more vulnerable than ever. They haven't had the strongest defense. The Texans, we all expect them to be one of the worst teams in the league. So now you're looking at the Jaguars as possibly the second best, or fighting for second best with the Titans, assuming the Colts are the best. So, but then, yeah, Arthur Smith, that's another guy we can talk about. First-time head coach. He worked with Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill. I mean, I saw what you guys saw. Not a lot out of Corey Davis, just here and there. But then, we know A.J. Brown is just a stud. So how much of it was having a stud like Henry, having a stud like Brown? How much of it was Arthur Smith and actually putting the pieces together? What do you think about Arthur Smith in Atlanta with Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley?
He was actually on my list here. That was definitely a name that I felt like I was most interested to see. I think the biggest caveat here is the Derrick Henry effect, right? Let's see what he's able to do with that run game. I know I talked about Mike Davis earlier, but we need to see because, again, Tannehill's resurgence was predicated on, hey, Derrick Henry is going to be a problem. You're going to have to stack the box. They're going to run a lot of play action, and Tannehill was killing people on that. So you had a 2,000-yard rusher, a 3,800 passer, A.J. Brown, 1,000-yard receiver, right, on bad knees the entire season. Corey Davis just under 1,000 yards. So with all of those weapons, he was able to show a pretty diverse offense, even with Derrick Henry putting up 2,000 yards. So my thing is, are they going to be able to solidify a run game in Atlanta to help Matt Ryan out? That way he can hit these guys and incorporate Ridley and Julio and some of their other weapons like a Hayden Hurst, right? Someone like that to get even more revitalized there. So I'm looking forward to see that. I can at least attest to see, hey, Arthur Smith is able to utilize weapons, add Jonnu Smith in that game as well, right? A tight end weapon who was able to put up almost 500 yards, but about 8 touchdowns. So, and he has experience both at the defensive quality control and as a tight end and O-line coach. So he's pretty versatile. It seems like he knows a lot, obviously, when it comes to offensive schemes and how defenses are going to prepare against him and some of his tendencies. So I just want to see. I think the main thing is looking at the Atlanta run game next season personally.
Okay. Paul, between Arthur Smith and it's actually Dean Pease, my apologies. Dean, he actually was DC for the Titans. Before that, the Ravens. Before that, the Patriots. Very experienced. Some of the stronger defenses in recent memory. the combination of Arthur Smith on offense with all that talent and Pease on defense. Are the Falcons back?
I don't know. That's a great question. I'm not convinced just based on this. I think it was a good move to, get rid of Quinn and, try to look for another mind. I think the timing was right. I just don't know, like, basically to a lot of Dylan made some great points, but like you said, I mean, how much easier is it to coach if you had a Derrick Henry behind you to run the ball, and get those yards? It makes everything so much easier. It makes the quarterback's life easier. It makes, the defenses have to stack the box, so it opens up so much more in the passing game. So when you have that running game and that option, it just makes it so much easier to coach. So I feel like talent and the coaching is such a big deal that I don't know, the Falcons don't have that strong offensive line or strong running game to set up the pass like they did in Tennessee. So I guess the jury's still out for me as far as how much of an impact it will make. So yeah, that's where I'm at with it.
Okay. Well, tell me where you're at with the Nick Sirianni signing.
Yeah, I think that could be officially one of the biggest surprises of the offseason. I don't think he was interviewed at all by any of the other top teams that were looking for coaches. Obviously Saleh was a big name, Arthur Smith, Staley, those kind of guys. But, no one knew who Nick Sirianni really was probably until he got signed, and didn't realize, that he was even in consideration. I think for a while, Josh McDaniels kind of seemed like the leader in the clubhouse. And then all of a sudden they bring in this guy, Nick Sirianni from the Colts. And, I think it shows, they really miss Frank Reich, with the Eagles, and they really liked him, his coaching and his leadership. So I think that his opinion carries a lot of weight. And I think that when he kind of gave a lot of the good word that Nick Sirianni was a good coach and a good guy, I think that kind of sealed the deal for him. So yeah, it was definitely surprising. I'm honestly more excited about the offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator signings that the Eagles got. I think Shane Steichen's a really good young mind, coming from the Chargers, and then Jonathan Gannon. Seems like he's very well respected around the league as a guy who's one of the bright young minds in the league. So I'm honestly more excited about them. But we'll see how Sirianni does too.
That's true. And and the coordinators you brought up for Philly, they seem very balanced, at least in their approach from the teams that they've been a part of. Balanced offense with running and passing, balanced defensively between man and zone, blitzing and not. So I do like that as well. I like, at least on the surface, the balance that we think that they'll come with. That'd be a very refreshing up there. And Dill, I know I didn't throw it on here. There's so many names. Gus Bradley, defense coordinator for the Las Vegas Raiders.
Hey, GB, man, the godfather of that Seattle defense. So, hey, Dan Quinn got to ride that wave as well. Hey, no disrespect to Dan. I actually like him a lot as well. But yeah, Gus Bradley, Pete Carroll will, give a nod to him as well, saying he had a big hand in creating this defense. And it just allows the younger players as well to kind of come in and not have to worry about so much as far as the scheme, just kind of being able to play fast. I know that's a lot of coach speak, but ultimately that's what he was able to do. And, Earl Thomas got the benefit from that, Richard Sherman. So like these young guys got to, be integrated right away. And as you could see in Vegas, we have a really young secondary. So again, we're not saying we're Legion of Boom 2.0, just saying he has some talent to at least have a starting base here as we, have input. He clearly has input on some of the defensive linemen that we're bringing in, right? Something to kind of help run a scheme, and obviously the edge rushers and some of the secondary players that, we already brought back. So I'm assuming in the draft, he's going to have a lot of say just to help sway Gruden from some of the people he falls in love with. And maybe he can be the guy in the room with Mayock to help talk John off some of these offensive players and, invest on the defensive side of the ball here. So I think his input's going to be valuable as far as talent evaluation, besides whatever he does schematically for us.
You think he'll bring the best out of Abrams?
I think most certainly. I think it's a combination. At the end of the day, that was Abrams' first season. Obviously, I know on paper, that was his second year. But this is his first time actually being in live ball, playing for more than one game in a season. So some growing pains. And I think, ultimately he's going to be able to have a big effect on him. And I think Abrams going to, take that experience from last year and just really soak in anything he has to say from Gus Bradley, because obviously he's been able to coach some good talent, but at the same time, he got to elevate some of that talent because these weren't as like highly touted picks at the time. Right. A lot of those dudes in the secondary in Seattle at the time were, beyond second, third, fourth round picks and stuff like that. So even the defensive line, like Michael Bennett's and stuff like that. So they're able to develop. And I think a lot of the young players already understand that, and they're willing to listen to whatever he says. And I think Abram will definitely have a big impact this year.
And then I did get surprised by the Bears a little bit after years of Chuck Pagano and Vic Fangio. They stay in-house and promote Sean Desai. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. My apologies. Coach up your defense to be elite, and then I'll learn your name, pretty much. But yeah, I thought that was one of the more surprising signings. I read that he's previously coached safeties, running backs, and special teams. So that's a unique background. Very interesting. I'll be tuning in because the Bears expect to have a strong defense. And this is a guy we don't know that only they know in-house. So we'll see. Something that I did expect, not necessarily the name and the place, but the type of hire was Joe Barry to Green Bay. He's been with San Francisco, won a ring with Tampa Bay back in 2001. He's been with Detroit, both LA teams, Washington. He has experience as a defense coordinator. That addition, it aligns with their history with experienced coaches on the defensive side of the ball. They did that with their last 9 defensive coordinators dating back to 1988. I have all the names, but I won't bore you. But 1988 all the way to 2021, and they're sticking to that recipe for the defensive side of the ball with an experienced defensive coordinator that has done it before. I found it very interesting. Just to highlight a few names, the most recent guys are Mike Pettin and Dom Capers, and it goes all the way back to guys like Ray Rhodes, Paul, for you Eagles fans. And yeah, that's one of those things that, it's a cliche, death, taxes, and the Packers getting an experienced defense coordinator. I'm just going overboard. but yeah, that was my surprising signing and my, expected signing right there. Is there anything else that catches your attention, guys?
Let's see. I don't know if you had one.
The only other one that I kind of was surprised by was Dan Campbell, the Lions. I didn't really have him on my radar as far as a guy who would become a head coach this soon. Former tight end. Definitely you can tell by his interview that he's a fiery guy and he wants to play, that hard-nosed football and, tough defense. So, you can tell he really, really cares and has a big passion for the game. So that'll be good for Detroit because, they've been out of it for so long and kind of irrelevant, honestly. So they need someone like that. And then he was able to get, a guy like Anthony Lynn to be his offensive coordinator who, is a really experienced and former head coach, obviously, of the Chargers. So yeah. And then getting Aaron Glenn, who's a, former all-pro cornerback, so, I think he built, I wasn't sure about him being a head coach, but I think he did a really good job of building the staff. And I think, you got to give him credit for his passion. So, I think that'll be interesting to see how that develops.
I absolutely like what Dan Campbell did. Anthony Lynn experience, Aaron Glenn, you just mentioned, Deuce Staley, assistant head coach. I like what Detroit's doing. Dill?
Yeah, I was going to say it was definitely surprising. I agree with you there. I guess kind of parallel to the Eagles situation in that regard, where the supporting hires is kind of the bigger deal in this situation here. Again, having that experience, Anthony Lynn going through what he's been through, the position coaches, now he gets to focus on just an offense and kind of help out and, definitely do Staley, getting a change of scenery there for him as well. And Aaron Glenn, as you touched on as well. So, but yeah, I'm interested to just kind of see what they do. Again, I don't know what the results are going to be immediately, but at least like the staff and the direction that they're trying to head here. So the roster, that's going to be the secondary part as they move forward the next few years.
I hear it. I hear it. And then here's a snapshot as we're recapping everything here at, the top, signings for each team in the league, marked by division here. Real quick, we'll go through each division. Looking at a snapshot of the NFC North, not the team that they already have assembled, but the signings or trades that took place. Who has improved the most? And not all names are on this list, you can see, but who looks to improve the most heading into the draft on paper in the NFC North?
Definitely not the Bears or the Lions.
Yeah.
That's tough. It'd have to be Green Bay or Minnesota for me, but I don't think they made any really huge moves to move the needle. I guess I'd give the Vikings the edge because getting Patrick Peterson. Yeah.
I was going to say the same, like for, I guess, name brand value, if you will. And the fit, I think he's a good player and he'll fit there. But yeah, I think the Vikings, I guess, at this point would be my winner.
I want to say that too. Thing is, Aaron Jones is the best player on that list here in the NFC North. And man, that's a different Packers team if there's no Aaron Jones. I guess I'm holding his weight more than I'm holding the combo of a Pat P and another guy I like, Dalvin Tomlinson. Splitting hairs here. It is between Green Bay and Minnesota so far. NFC South. Did anybody do enough to say that they topped the defending champion Buccaneers, who kept almost all their players pretty much?
Not a chance.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm like, you can try to make an argument just because the Saints brought back, Marcus and, both Williams. But yeah.
I think we lost Dill, but I think he'll be coming right back on here.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Buccaneers, Paul, keeping everybody. How?
I know. Like we touched on earlier, they get guys to take hometown discounts because they want to play for a Super Bowl team and they want to play with Tom Brady, and all that feeds into it. And it's one of those rich get richer situations. So it's going to be hard to, the Saints are going to lose Breeze. The Panthers are making a big move, getting Sam Darnold and seeing how that goes. And then, the Falcons are probably clearly the second best team in that division right now. But yeah, you can't really compete with what the Bucs did this offseason, just getting everyone back.
Do you guys think Antonio Brown returns?
I think he ends up returning at some point.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't think anyone else is really going to want him. He's just with everything he's been through with Brady, and Brady, having him over to his house, that connection they have. It just seems it might not happen soon. He might wait it out to see if he gets a bigger offer, which I don't think will come through. And then he'll just end up signing for the Bucs for cheap. If I had to guess.
And Dill, are you back with us?
I believe so. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. And hey, who would you start in New Orleans? Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill?
Jameis.
Yeah.
To me, it's no question. I feel like at the end of the day, you should be able to continue to utilize Taysom in a pretty similar role in the same capacity. and, give Jameis that chance. He's obviously has the talent, and obviously we all know about the turnover situation, but I think with Sean Payton, why wouldn't you give it a shot at this point if you're Sean Payton?
Yeah. I'd go with Jameis Winston. He's actually a quarterback, so
There you go.
You split their snaps 50-50.
2 quarterback system.
I like
Yeah.
for Taysom Hill. So keep him in the Cordell Stewart / role. I like that. All right, over to the NFC East. Who looks like they've improved the most on paper? I'd be the first one to tell you it's not the Eagles. So,
Oh man. I mean, yeah, on paper, the Giants probably made the most noise. Galladay's making $18 million a year. Leonard Williams got a 3-year deal at like $20 million a year. Dory Jackson's getting $13 million. So, I mean, as far as who spent the most money and made the most moves of bringing in new people, that's the Giants. Obviously Dak coming back is a big deal, but he was already there. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think the Giants are definitely better, but I think they're going to end up overpaying those guys, and I don't know. We'll see what happens. Once right now they can get away with it because they have Daniel Jones on a rookie deal, and at this point, who knows if he'll be signed to a big second contract, so they can take more swings and misses, or sorry, not swings and misses, but more swings like this.
we know what you're hoping for.
Yeah.
I feel it. I'm actually kind of leaning towards watching the football team here. Contracts wise, definitely the Giants had the bigger splashes, but I'm actually liking what Washington football team's doing with the defense that they have already in place, and some of the young players on offense that are getting better. Bringing in competition at the quarterback. I know they said Fitzpatrick starting, or I think that's kind of what's happening at this point here, but I think they're kind of adding competition to every level, and I just like what they're doing, and I think they're only going to get better.
All right. Yeah, it's between those two, and I'm having a little difficulty trying to pick one of them. I mean, is Ryan Fitzpatrick starting in Washington? No one's gonna know that. No one's just gonna know that for a while.
For sure. I mean, there's still the draft, so who knows? There's rumblings that they might trade up. So who knows?
Signed Kyle Allen and Taylor Heineke. I mean, who freaking knows in Washington? Asking Adam Humphries to be the slot, Curtis Samuel to be more than a gadget player and more of a wide receiver 2, or at least a 2A to Humphries 2B. That's interesting because they got McLaurin, they got Gibson, so that's some talent.
Logan Thomas, tight end.
I like him a lot too. So yeah, I mean, Galladay's is more of a bigger name. Yeah, Galladay's a bigger name than Samuel and Humphries. Leonard Williams is a big deal. Adoree Jackson is probably better than William Jackson. So I guess I'll give the edge to the Giants. Again, splitting hairs. Over in the NFC West. The Rams?
Yeah, I'd say Stafford alone.
Stafford and Djax. The Rams improved.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the Cardinals made interesting moves, Green coming back, but with Fitzgerald retiring, I don't know if AJ Green is really that big of an upgrade over Fitzgerald at this point in his career. So I don't know about that. But then, yeah, JJ Watt, interesting signing. But yeah, I mean, yeah, the Rams are, they probably have the most hype, and, they're going to have a lot of pressure to, perform and succeed, especially, in a stacked division. So it's going to be fun to watch the West next year.
Is AJ Green draftable?
He wasn't draftable last year to me, nor will he be this year.
All right. Slide into the AFC, the North. Cleveland?
Yeah.
Must have kept,
Yeah. No doubt.
they kept Rashard Higgins, signed Malik Jackson, John Johnson, the guy who we're all over. Man. Yeah, I'd say it's Cleveland. Clean sweep
I
there.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
No? You like
No, I was reading what the Bengals did as well. I'm like,
Yeah, I think
kind of like
I
what they
was gonna
did.
say they did have a lot of, I think, solid signings under the radar, So yeah.
No, I hear you. Bengals did have a good offseason so far. AFC South. All right.
Ooh,
Sure,
that's
no,
a good one.
say the Texans. So
Yeah.
Man,
Colts for me.
I'd say the Colts. Yeah.
who are you struggling with, Dill?
I was just reading.
The Jags.
Yeah, it's not enough to tip the scales there for me. So definitely, if you get a franchise quarterback, that's pretty much going to solidify your offseason there. So I mean, I know there's differing opinions on that, but again, the capital you're giving up, you go get your guy, you bring back Marlon, NTY, Xavier. So yeah, I think they had the best offseason there.
You know I do. I already put my money down as soon as the Carson trade went down. I put my money on the Colts winning the Super Bowl. So and the Colts winning the AFC too. So, but yeah, any opinion that doesn't think Carson Wentz is a baller is wrong.
There
Anyway,
you go.
over to the AFC East. Who is the most improved team, at least on paper? Is it the Patriots?
I mean, I guess.
Ugh, this was the toughest one.
Because on paper they spent a lot of paper. So I mean,
and yeah, they've addressed on paper issues from last year as far as offensive weapons. So I don't want to give them the nod, but I might have to, just because they were just severely lacking last year. Besides the talent, they just, a lot of opt-outs and stuff too on the defensive end as well. So I think the combination of that could give them the nod here.
What about the Jets? Tevin Coleman, Corey Davis, Marcus May, Dan Feeney, Sheldon Rankins.
Yeah, they had a busy offseason.
yeah,
Just
getting rid of Darnold.
Yeah, they got some capital back. So I don't know.
So on Darnold, are we going to hear, between back to Sam Darnold and Dan Arnold, are we going to hear Sam to Dan or Darnold to Arnold?
Oh man,
I kind of like Darnold to Arnold.
yeah.
Sam to Dan now. All right.
I don't know.
So I think we all picked the Patriots there. Even Miami's on the board too. They got themselves a backup quarterback.
I was gonna say I kind of liked it. I forgot they got Jacoby. But yeah, with Will Fuller and him alone, I guess that can help solidify their squad. I don't know.
And then closing out with the AFC West. I like Denver's secondary. The Chiefs, they did improve along the offensive line. The Raiders, they both sides of the ball. It's a close. I think this is a close call.
This is truthfully, I think, the toughest one for me, because I think the Chargers addressed their O-line as well, just like the Chiefs. You talked about the secondary for Denver. The Raiders added pieces on both sides. So honestly, I'm gonna let you guys choose, because I'm a little biased in this one here.
Yeah, that is tough, because a lot of the teams made good moves. I can't give it to the Chiefs just because they got rid of both their tackles, and I don't think they did a good enough job of replacing that in free agency so far.
Yeah.
And then, Chargers got their linemen, but besides that, they got Cook, but is he better than Henry? I don't know. So I don't know if they really upgraded there. So yeah, I mean, it's tough because Denver really did do a really good job of addressing their secondary, and got some really good guys. So their secondary should be really good. I guess in terms of value, I definitely give the edge to the Raiders, because the John Brown and the Ngakoue signings were just such good value signings and also positions of need. As far as talent, though, what the Broncos added in free agency it's hard to argue with. So yeah, I don't know.
Flip a coin on that one.
I guess I can be the tiebreak. Well, I don't know. You sound like you're more Raiders, Paul. So
Yeah, I don't know.
I love what Denver did, but I give the edge to the Raiders. I really do. I'm looking around the entire league right now, and I see the Browns and the Raiders having the best offseason so far. Yep. I don't know. If you had to pick two teams like I just did, I pick the Browns and Raiders. What about you guys?
Yeah, I'll take those picks. I definitely think Cleveland is definitely number one, and hey, I'll take number 2 spot, no questions.
Yeah, the only other team I'll add to that is the Bucks.
Yeah, I was staring at them again. I was like, Tampa.
I
but-
can't not mention them. They didn't lose anyone.
Yeah, they locked that down.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, Tampa locked it down. True story. All right, diehards, we would love to hear what you have to say. We went through each position group: QB, running back, receiver, tight end, O-line, D-line, linebacker, secondary, and the coaching hires as well. Then we went through each division at a snapshot to see who improved the most. Whether you agree or disagree, let us know. Tell us where we were right, where we were wrong. Of course, we're always right. And yeah, YouTube comments, we'll reply back. Holler on Twitter, Facebook as well, or on the blog. All the links you need are in the description. And hey, before we cut out, guys, do you expect any major trade before draft day?
Ooh.
Wow. Well, since teams are trading draft picks before the draft starts, which never happens, if that theme follows, I definitely look for the Patriots to maybe trade up for a quarterback. Keep an eye on the Teddy Bridgewater situation, for sure. But yeah, besides that, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'd say definitely keep an eye on Teddy Bridge, and I don't know, maybe a random receiver like Allen Robinson. Maybe they work on something to ship him out and get some compensation so the man can get his contract. So I don't know. I think people are mainly going to stay pat and maybe just move up draft capital wise, just like Paul alluded to there at this point.
Okay. Atlanta trading out before, maybe?
Yeah, I'd see Atlanta trading out. I could see Washington football team trading up to go get a guy, or maybe even New England trade up to go get a guy, just like Paul said. So those are kind of the two teams I'm looking at right now, maybe trading up.
I want to call. I'm really trying to pinpoint a draft spot, but I think Dallas is going all in on Kyle Pitts, and I'm not sure.
He makes it there.
Yeah, he's not going to make it to 10. So
Were they? They're at 10.
Yeah. So I'm expecting a trade up by the not expecting. I'm going to predict a trade up by the Cowboys. And I don't know if they have to go to 4 with Atlanta to do it, because then that would mean he's the first non-quarterback selected in this draft. Tough to see that for a tight end. Wide receiver, they expect him to play the X, right? Cincy, maybe they could trade down from 5.
How far though? Like, you know what I mean? If you're them, how far are you willing to go out or go down?
Especially when you have so many weapons on offense already, and your defense needs a lot of talent.
Yeah.
Miami moving down again, perhaps.
Yeah, man.
Hey, I wouldn't put it past them at this point.
And then you got Detroit and Carolina. I don't know. I could see Atlanta, Cincy, Miami, Detroit, Carolina all being open to it.
Yeah. I could see Detroit moving back for sure. I think they just want to pick up more picks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I guess that would be my prediction between now and the draft. Would be Dallas moving up and targeting Kyle Pitts. And all right, diehards, with that, like I said, in the comments, hit the like button, holler at your boys. Let us know your opinions, your take on your favorite team around the league, whatever interests you, and what you like to hear in the next episode. Until next time, we're out.